It's time to take a stand and repair our history. Thomas Sowell has shown us the way. It's time to start winning reality. We've been divided for far too long. It's time to come together and be strong. We can learn from our mistakes and make a brighter future for everyone. We have the power to make a change. All it takes is courage and faith. So let's stand up for what's right and make history together.
Hello and welcome to Repairing History Together. I'm your host, Winning Reality, and with you, your other host, Gary Lamb. How's it going?
What up, everybody?
How y'all doing? We got a lot of people in the chat already, starting to fire it up. How you doing? Talking trash the truth. Got T-Rex trucking. Hey, how you doing, Suzanne? See y'all. See me later. What's going on? Oh yeah, man. So we're rolling in here, man. Rolling here. We got a BV Luminous on Gary's side over there.
What up, BV?
And, yeah, man. So how you been, Gary?
Been doing pretty good. How you, man?
Good. We got Ego Layer 13 coming in. Hey, how you doing, man? Welcome. All right. Well, man, we had a great time Saturday night, and we're gonna keep this thing rolling.
Yes, we're definitely gonna do that. So what are we talking about tonight?
Well, I figured we
what up, Ego?
Yo, we just pick up where we left off, man, and just hit the topics we need to be hitting and talking about. Me and you, we have a lot of great conversations offline, and I think a lot of those can be brought here online to talk about the key things. I think the more that we talk, the more that we realize what we need to talk about.
Right.
Right. And hey, Logic, how you doing? Logic Rex.
Logic.
Man, how you doing? All right. We one of the interesting things we were talking about earlier was we were talking about I think we need to get down to this jargon, like just the terminology. I always believe that if you have a failure to communicate, you're not going to be able to, or you're there's some kind of failure of communication, and at some level you can never get to have a reasonable conversation in any way, shape, or form, right? If we don't understand the definitions of the terms we are using, we're going to have a hard time communicating, right? And it might just be coming down to, like, right here at the start, just trying to get an idea of what means what to each community, right? Like how do we interpret these terms that we're supposed to be using to describe things, and how does one side look at it versus the other, so that we can kind of mend that those terminologies into something that's usable and that we understand each other on. And you brought up the term racism earlier, and what that means, and that it could, that perhaps there's some disconnect in the meaning between whites and blacks. So we need to I think maybe we could start there. You had a lot of really interesting, enlightening things to say to me earlier about it, and what do you think about that? How's that sound for a plan?
Sounds like a great plan. What up, Alex? How you doing, money? I know you've been busy. How's that house coming along?
No.
So we discussed this earlier this morning, and I was explaining how I've had many conversations with many of my subscribers and supporters on how certain language hits people a certain way. And I have a clip that I would like to show you. I'm going to go ahead and grab it up, and I'm going to send it to you via the
chat.
What you call it? So this way you can go ahead and put it in. It's a TikTok video, so it shouldn't be nothing big, but this is going to give you a good idea of what I mean when I say someone can say something and it really doesn't matter how they say it. If the person wants to take it the wrong way, they will. So this is a very important one. Let me see if I can find it here. I'm trying to see if I can, because I'm a little behind here. Just give me 1 second. We need filler.
All right. Well, we got filler. How's everybody doing out there in the comments, man? How you doing out there in the crowd? See, we call it the crowd here.
The
They're coming
crowd.
to the show. The crowd comes to the show. They show up for the show, you know? All right. So I hope everybody that's over on Gary's will come by and say hi. I'm over on my channel and vice versa. We want to make sure that we're going into each side and meeting each other and getting to know each other, man. Because we'll be hanging out for a long time, and we want to make sure everybody has a chance to get to know each other and start having those friendships and conversations that we need to be had, and just enjoying each other's company, man. That's what it's all about.
All right, so I have it now, so we should be able to get it over to you right now. Now look at this video, okay? Now I don't care who these people are. I don't care if they are or not. Let's just look at it as if these people you don't know, because some people might recognize these individuals. Let's just say you have no biases towards these people. They're just individuals that you are seeing for the very first time. So they're
Alex, we're over here on Winning Reality. It's called Winning Reality.
Oh yeah.
We got a link up for Gary's channel and my channel. Let me pin this.
All right, let me can you let me give Susan some authority so she can go ahead and send it over, so she can mod over here if she decides to.
If you wanted to pull up the if you can, you also pull up the video on your side. I can just share it from here. Just hit the. You know how to do all that stuff.
Okay.
You not do that? You hit present.
Yeah. Let me just. Yeah. Right now, I'm modding Susan. So give me 1 second.
All right.
All right. So she can at least put links in there. All right. So you already rock and roll over there, Susan. And let me get back to this other place. And you want me to share my screen, basically?
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
I can pull it up, but I'm not. I don't have a TikTok account, so.
Oh, you don't?
I got it right here. I got it right here. I can pull it up.
Yeah. Let's go.
All right. Oh, let's do it like this. Yeah. All right. Here we go.
Representative Jones, I want to ask you the question is, I understand that you went into public school and you went to Harvard and Harvard Law. And the question, I guess, is, would you have been able to maybe achieve this if you were not an athlete or a minority?
I'm hoping I wasn't the only one that got shocked by that comment, that the only reason you went to Harvard is because you were black and an athlete.
I did not say that. I said, did that end up being one of the reasons? I do not know that. I asked him this.
Right. I'm just going to say one thing. Harvard had 5 rankings for their students. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And when I graduated from Harvard, I was in rank 2. So I earned my place and I did well.
Now, you watch that clip and you see how quickly they jumped on the racial aspect. And we wonder why so many whites are scared to open their mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no, watching that from a regular standpoint, now, okay, so did he get into Harvard because he was a minor? Probably yes. All right. Yes, there was probably incentive to encourage bringing more blacks into Harvard, just like there's a huge incentive to get women into the STEM areas, right? There's a huge push to get women into STEM, right? And here's a man that was able to play sports in order to pay for his scholarship, which he probably wouldn't have gotten without the talent that he has in sports. And the first thing this guy says is, did I just hear is because I was black? I'm like, well, kind of, maybe, but that's not what he meant. Like, what do you think he meant winning?
I'm not sure what the context of the whole thing was because it was just a clip. So it's hard for me to understand what he was getting at with that question. But I think that he was maybe talking about the opportunity and, and trying to understand how if he got into the school based on some kind of scholarship um, or affirmative action or something like that. I'm just not sure what he was talking about. So it's hard for me to analyze that and feel like I'm doing it justice. But see, the whole context of it makes me wonder, well, why would what prompted him to ask that question, right? Did it have to do with affirmative action? Did it have to do with opportunities? Did the gentleman say before that he doesn't get opportunities or didn't get opportunities, or I don't know. It's just hard for me to look at that. And I know what the effect was they were going for with that, right? The effect is what you just stated, greatly, but it's but the context of it is confusing. But you did make a great point about like there are a lot of whites that are scared to talk, and there's a lot of reasons for that. But I don't know. I didn't give you a good answer there, Gary.
No, you didn't give me a good answer. You gave me a you answer, and that's my point. Is like, how can you see this stuff on television, right?
Mhm.
And this is the only time you really get to interact with blacks, other than the comedy show where they're pretty much there to entertain you and so on and so forth, or in a session in a sitting where there is a mutual reason for us to be here, right? It's you get to a situation where, and I've had this experience many, many times, especially when we came down to Oklahoma. I noticed there was a lot of people that was trying really hard to seem chill, right? Like, I don't know if, and I hate saying white people, it sounds so terrible, but I don't know if whites notice, but it seems like a lot of white people act differently around blacks, and you feel it. My wife and I, when we first came to Oklahoma, they were extra nice, and it was like, well, I'll see if I can help you. And this person is like aggressively trying to help you out. And it's cool, I guess, but it's like, it seems a little bit too much. Like, I'm trying to, what's the word? Prove. I'm trying to prove to this person that I see you as an equal, and we're this, and it's like, no, you don't have to do all that. It's not really that serious. It's not, but it seems like there's a barrier, a huge barrier of, I'm afraid to say the wrong thing. Yes, trying too hard, Mike. It just seems like they're afraid that we'll feel some type of way. Like, I don't want to make this person, say something that's going to turn a person off, and then I don't want to offend the person, but I have a question I want to ask, which makes the question awkward because you're working so hard not to sound racist, and it's like, no, that's the part that really irritates me. I want you to be comfortable to have a conversation. I want you to be comfortable to be who you are, because I'm going to be comfortable to be who I am. Right? I'm going to be who I am. I don't want to put you in a box, if you will. Now, granted, if you say some crazy off the wall stuff, I'm gonna say something. I should, but at least give me a chance. You know what I'm saying? Like, be you. And it's just like you feel, if it just feels like there's a big tension there, and that's something that I don't like. And sometimes I feel that way as well, where I'm around a lot of whites, and I think, all right, if I sound too colored, it might be a problem, right? So let me put my white voice on, and let me put my enunciations on, and let me not use the slang, and I do all that stuff to try to accommodate others. And it's like, do we really have to do that? Like, is it going to be fake every time I get around whites? I mean, I can understand in the business setting, right? You're supposed to keep it professional. But when I'm just sitting
Right.
here cracking a beer, I don't want to be perfect. Listen, man, your wife got a fat ass. My wife got a fat ass. Let's have a conversation. You know what I'm saying? Let's just be real with one another. And obviously, I'm not trying to get at your wife, but I'm just saying, like, I'll pick something stupid and weird to just break the ice and say, all right, are you a human being? Yeah. So if I hit you with this bowling pin, it'll hurt, right? Yeah. All right, cool. Then you human. There's no point of going through all the motions, and let's just have a conversation. What do you think?
Yeah, we got to break down the barrier, man. That's the thing. What there's this thing that I guess is trained into us, and this is something that the white community, feels and maybe needs to acknowledge, that we've had it trained into us to almost, to be careful what you say, right? And then there's the mob mentality that's of today, where the people will jump on anything you say and try to ruin you with it.
Yes.
And so there's the worry about that, and then the mob mentality behind that, because most of the time that mob's white. It's like, that's what I found out. And that black folks are really very open-minded about things if you just sit down, have a conversation, and be yourself. But there is a restraint, there is a restriction. Like, you feel like, oh man, you don't want to say the wrong word and offend someone you're trying to be you're trying to communicate with, you're trying to connect with, right? And you don't want to, you don't know when you're gonna step over that line. I think Talking Trash and Truth says it's difficult to talk when you're taught through experience that no matter what you say, you are incapable of understanding anything because you're white. And that's the mentality of the mainstream narrative.
I'm so glad you said that. That brings us right into the second clip that I got. You are so spot on. Yes, continue.
Yeah. And that's something that's ground into us at a younger age, right? And it just varies now. Nothing's 100%. Everything is spread out to wherever you are and whoever you are and whoever you're around, right? So different regions, different ways, different parents, different ways, different backgrounds, different ways, right? This whole generalization thing is a giant fallacy. Like, you can't generalize the entire black community based on one black person. You can't do the same thing with the white community. You can't do the same with any community. You're doing that, you're doing it wrong. You have to be open-minded and look at the individual. And that's what we're trying to get to. It's like, it's looking at each other as individuals. Yes, you're always going to see the outside. Like, what kind of car you just drove up, right? You might not know what it's like to drive that car or to own that car, but you can see the car and it drives up, man. And you may like that car. It's just like, you can't escape the outside, right? You can't escape what you're looking at. But it's the inside thing. It's being able to be like, okay, you got a car, I got a car. Now we're just talking. And it doesn't matter what kind of car you're driving, what kind of car I'm driving. It's content of the character. It's the intrinsic worth, that's one thing that one philosophy I've always lived by is like judgment not by externals, but by intrinsic worth, right? And that's right along the lines of, content of character from Martin Luther King, right? So, and that's what it's about. And it comes both ways. It comes both ways. Like, a lot of times you get that automatic reaction because you're white too. And I don't know that, that people get that either. Like that there's another side to it, in a sense that, it's hard to see. This is the part where you would stutter on this, right? You would stutter to say, yeah, there's discrimination against whites too, because there is. But it's hard to say that. If I say that to a black person, they're gonna not get it, or am I gonna lose my chance to communicate with this person or lose their respect for saying that? That's the fear.
So wait a minute. So you really do feel like you're going to lose a chance with having a conversation?
Yeah, like if because I think that we've been trained to, or we've seen, maybe even from media and other things, right? It's in our head somehow that we may say the wrong thing and then it's all over. It's all over. It's out the door. Right? Nobody going to forgive you. It's because, this, right? And there is an underlying fear, and you guys can, in the chat, if you feel the same way, let me know. But there's some kind of underlying fear that we're going to, you're going to say the wrong thing. You're going to be insensitive in some way. And then it's going to make you look like a racist, and boom, you're just another white person, right? You're just another person that's just doesn't get it and doesn't want to get it. And, you kind of get scared like that. You're like, man, but you're really trying to make a connection and keep a friendship with somebody. And eventually, man, I think over time, when you get to that real friendship level, it relaxes some, right? But
Yeah.
it's like there's always that underlying thing that you're just worried that at some moment something's going to go wrong, because nothing's ever been completely right.
Yeah.
And that's what we got to get. That's what we got to get to. And that's what I think we're trying to do here is just, talk about this thing so we can get it right. And it does come down to things like definitions, making sure we're using our words right. And when we don't understand what the words mean, or we have a difference of opinion on that we stop and we fix that communication breakdown, and then we continue the conversation. You're really good about that, Gary, by the way. Like that's one thing I noticed with you, dude. You're on top of that.
Yeah, well, the reason why is because for years I didn't have a voice, right? My father died when I was 16 years old, and I still didn't really know what it was to have a voice. I was a very timid kid. I was very awkward, extremely awkward. People look at me like, oh, Gary's so outgoing. No, I'm not. That's learned. You know what I mean? That was learned in order to take care of myself and feed my family. I am very introverted. I don't like crowds. I don't like having conversations with strangers. I don't like to introduce myself to people. I just never liked it. I just learned how to do it, right? I got comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's why I'm so good at it, because I had to learn everything. Like, okay, so obviously language is horrible to try to use as a connection spot, right? Because everybody's language is different. I say feminist, and it might make some men want to jump out of a window, right? I say misogynist, and it might make some women want to jump out the window. But it all depends on, hell, saying the word submission to a black woman is freaking a no-no, right? But I use it all the time because I believe in the word, because I do it every day of my life to work in this society, right? This is a social environment. There are certain things you just can't do. You have to submit to others or people's authority and wishes if you want to work. What up, 2 cents? So you look at all those things that come along with being a human being in a society, and you sit back and you say, well, logically speaking, this is how I should operate my life, logically speaking. But too many people, they work at a emotional level, right? So they get offended very quickly, right? And most of my work journey was around women. So I started working, and listen, I'm an introvert. My very first job was at Davis Bridal. I'm going to say that again for the people in the back row. I am an introvert male. My first job was with women in the most emotional time of their life. And I'm supposed to interact with them. So I had to learn the hard way what not to say around certain people, right? And being a black boy in a white world, it was so different for me. So I had to learn how to be outgoing and how to connect and how to fake it a little bit and how to be entertaining and how to be charismatic. All that stuff had to be learned because I was around people that needed me to serve them. So I got excellent at servicing people, but I did not know how to turn that off. So for the next, 10 years of my life, all I did was serve people. I was always attentive. I was always trying to make sure everybody's day was right. And I got bitter behind it because nobody gave a damn what I felt. And it seemed like every time I brought up what I felt, it was a problem. I didn't know that was a universal term that most men will go through for the rest of their life. I just thought it was me. And I looked at it as, oh, okay, then it must be because white people don't like me, right? It's a racial. I started picking up on that because that was the only common denominator that I had, right? So I made white people the problem. I can't be who I am around white people. I can't be this. I can't say what I want to say. Not realizing that I can't do that in any environment. It didn't seem that way because guess what? I'm the only eyeball around. So when I got to a place where I really start learning my voice, it came out kind of weird. Instead of being accommodating to people, I started repelling people like they were, like I was, it was horrible. I started repelling people really, really badly. And I started cursing up a storm, and I started being very vulgar with my words. I was saying horrific things because I never was able to say them before. So I started becoming very, very nasty with my verbiage. And it followed me for years. I used to use it. I used to call it as a term of endearment, to use the B word. That was a term of endearment. Looking back, it was foolish to even say those things, but it was a term of endearment because I wasn't allowed to say it. I wasn't allowed to second guess a woman. I wasn't allowed to criticize a woman. I wasn't allowed to say anything that was outside of what they felt. And I was not allowed to call out the double standards at work. I couldn't do any of those things. So I got to a point where I said F it, and I started doing all those things, but I was still within the guidelines of my job. So it wasn't like they couldn't do anything legally, but they'll get you on Trump charges like, oh, well, we're firing you because you was on your phone. Like everybody was on your phone. I work with women in an environment where we're dealing with mentally and physically disabled people. We're bored all day. Everybody's on their phone, but that's the reason why you're firing me. Got it. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I started running to all those resistance, and I was like, dag, man, I must really have a problem here. So I had to step back and ask the question, am I going about this the wrong way? Because I keep running into the same issue. I'm not an insane person. I'm a little naive, but I'm not insane. So I started to really sit there and think about it. Then I got on YouTube. Same thing happened. I started saying what I wanted to say, when I wanted to say, and how I wanted to say it. And I was repelling people, you know, and it wasn't so much that what I said is how I said it. For example, I lost a subscriber because we got in an argument over the women's movement, right? And how feminism came along. We got on a big argument around that because I know that white men in that era was using that to get their agenda across, but she was stuck in her emotions. I couldn't get that to her. And before you know it, she's like, can you please unmod me? And she never came back to my life. So that was the last straw for me. And I was like, I gotta find a better way to communicate. It can't be with words because they don't work. So I try my best. I start talking to my wife. I say, babe, how about you communicate what I'm trying to say through you, right? Like, because you know how to say it. And she'll say this many times. I don't agree with what he says, but I understand where he's coming from. And this is what he's trying to say. He just don't know how to say it like women say it. So I'm going to say it for him because nobody knows me better than my wife. So when I got to that point, I understand, all right, cool. I'm listening to my wife. I'm listening to the chat. I'm listening to everybody. And I'm like, now we're starting to finally grow. I can say what I need to say. And I can get it to you in a way where, yes, it might ruffle your feathers because you don't like hearing it, but you can see my point of view. And now that you can see it, it lands differently. So this was the ultimate test of my communication skills, trying to figure out how to get what I'm trying to say to someone across, because we're missing somewhere. I know we are. All right. I know we are. The Bible says we are brothers and sisters. So we gotta be missing somewhere. I don't know where, but we're missing. So that's the whole reason why I'm so adamant about doing this. And this is not the first time that I tried to get whites to talk to me. I've been trying to do this for almost 15 years. I kid you not. I have videos out there of me trying to talk to white people to bridge the gap and say, listen, we are in the same friggin' boat. I'm poor, you're broke, and the other guy's rich. But guess what? We're all under them. Okay. They can move the decimal point and everybody broke. You know what I'm saying? So we're in a situation where we shouldn't be fighting one another, but they don't want to have that conversation because of cancel culture. So it's like, okay, I give up. What can I do? You know what I'm saying? So I said, you know what? I'm gonna have fun with it. Skip it. So I've been having fun with it for the last, several months.
Yeah, man. The cancel culture thing I think is ridiculous. It's more scary for other people than this everyday people, right? I think what we take on that fear, right? We take on that fear, like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Like, I gladly stand up and defend myself against any kind of charges like that. But, evidently that doesn't do any good to some people. They worry about it, and that's going to be the end of it. I'm more concerned about the individual, and making sure that I'm being as respectful and polite as I possibly can while I'm learning, what I need to learn. I have my ideas too. I have my experiences too. And they all accumulate to my worldview, right?
Right.
I could tell stories that people would be like, dang, I've been jumped twice for my color, right? Absolutely 100%, right? And that's a thing, and I've had close, important relationships in my life with blacks all throughout my life. And then I say that and people are like, well, now it's just, now that's like, you're just saying that so that you don't seem like this other way. That's like in the back of your head somewhere, when really you're just being honest and telling your story. Right. And like some people just, I don't know, it's the impact of media. And again, distorted history. Right. And that's again why I think Thomas Sowell is so important in this healing division aspect of root cause solutions for our problems in society, is because, here's this highly intelligent man with all this important work that can, like, I got a video I want to show too. It's a little bit long, but let me pull it up while I'm talking, because I saw it right for this. I was like, I got to pull this one up. I'm just saving it.
And talking, you're absolutely right. While you're doing that, pulling it up, I'll I'll read some comments. Topping, you're absolutely right. It was a pushback for me. I got tired of it. Was a bit of rebellion. I will definitely agree with that, because I got tired of being perfect and not being able to make mistakes. Every time I made a mistake, that was my behind. I lose my resources. I lose my ability to take care of my children. I lose my position. And while I'm not able to make mistakes, everybody else around me is. I had one woman say to me, as I was working at David's Bridal, because she was a Muslim, she says to me, I'm not allowed to touch her, but she's allowed to touch me. What the, really? I'm sorry. I can't explain. I can't understand why would you say that? Yeah, but she says this to me. I'm like, and my mind went, if you're a Muslim, why are you working at all? Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, why are you working at all? But here I am. I'm like, it is what it is, man. I don't know what to say. And
hey, Gary, we got
holy cow.
We got a couple of super chats coming in here. We got one on for Gary. Here's to an amazing endeavor. So excited. Let's do this. And we got another one on the side saying the same thing. Onwards and upwards, baby. I'm so excited for this. Thank you so much, Talking Trash and Truths. We really appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. I really do.
Yeah, that's
but
huge,
back
man.
to what you were saying.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's exactly, it was exactly like that. It was major pushback. This is why this is how I connect with people, right? Talking. What I do is I make sure that I'm a very emotional man. My wife would tell you this. I'm a very emotional man. And I think that is one of my superpowers, being emotional. Because where most men will claim that they're not emotional, quote unquote, which is it's bald-faced lie. They're very emotional, but they'll claim and say they're not emotional. And they don't realize that rage and anger is an emotion. But yeah, so a lot of men will run from hurt. They won't say you hurt me. They won't say that really bothered me. They'll say, you pissed me off and I'm gonna bust you. No, say that right there, that hurt me. That really hit me. You don't have to be on some like, you can't believe you said. You ain't got to be on that.
Yeah.
But you can be like, listen, that right there hurt me. Now, I'm not about to charge you to that, because how would you know that I got feelings when I'm 300 pounds of muscle? You know what I mean? Like, you look at me and you see me as a barbarian, but inside is a soul.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I'm going to give you.
That's what I would say too, Gary.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, that's what I say too, man. It's like, if I came up with this a long time ago. Empathy can save the world. If you can just imagine that person across from you as a little child, right? The little child that you find on the playground, be like, hey, you want to play? Hey, let's go do this. Let's go do that. You know, before you know it, you're already friends. Look at them like that. You know, that's them before the world got a hold of them. That's who they are. That's who they want to be. You know, but the world, like, you know, like all these experiences that we have, you know, they try to change you. That I could have gotten like off the hook on against blacks because I got jumped because of the color of my skin in my hometown, and, you know, coming out of places, you know, but I didn't see it like that. I saw it as these people have been persuaded into this lifestyle, and not everybody's like that. I still remember Eli, man. Like whenever I need anything, I call Eli. I gotta tell the story about Eli real quick. Then I want to pull this video up. Eli, okay, was a ground maintenance person at my grandfather's apartment complex when I was a child. Now, my grandfather died when I was, I can't remember, 14, 15, 16. This grandfather did. However, they lived in these apartments, right? And my mom eventually, we eventually moved into this apartment too, nearby. But there's two grounds people that worked the whole damn place, right? And it was Eli and James, okay? Both older grandfather aged black gentlemen. And I absolutely loved Eli. Eli was he was my dude, man. And he loved me. And every time I'd see him, I'd go running towards him. Eli. He'd give me a big hug. He'd tell me I was going to be the president of the United States. That's what he said every time.
How did that make you feel when he said that?
It made me feel great, but I just loved him. Him. And so I'd go out with him during the day. It was like, they'd be like, yeah, go ahead and run around with them. And I'd go out and they'd mow the grass, and I'd pick like little pine straw up and put it in back where the trees are. And I was just little. I'm talking little, like little kindergarten level, doing this, right? And I looked for him every time I was there. And I remember the day that my grandfather told me he had passed away. I was very upset. And you know, but that was some of my first interactions. You know, Keith, my first best friend from kindergarten, right? You know, we were inseparable from the time we laid eyes on each other. And it was like, you know, that's been my experiences. So I don't think about those dudes who try to jump me and my friend to take the beer, right? I don't think about the dudes who walk down looking for a fight, looking just to hit white people, and broke my friend's nose, right? And then I got to fight 3 of them. And, you know, it's like, I didn't change my mind. I didn't start, you know, it didn't just become like, all people are like that now, right? I had the foundation of love from black folks that I can get up off the ground from. And so that the society, no matter what people tell me, people try to say white people this, white people that, it just never got to me that way. All I want to do was just realize that we're all in this together. And it's always been the man or the establishment of power, or however you want to refer to him, that's been the dividing factor between us.
Yeah.
So just to kind of prove this point, when you put the facts back into education, right? Look at this gentleman right here, right? College student, right? He reacts to facts about slavery he would never mention in school by Thomas Sowell. Now, I haven't watched this all the way through, but you know, I grabbed the title. I know that when people hear Thomas Sowell, their minds change and they open up and change, right, about things. So let's take a look at this together and we'll see what we see.
Let's get into this joint, man. As you know by the title, I am currently in college right now, and I'm a pretty good student. I'm not gonna say too much, but I'm a pretty good student. Like I finished high school. I'm not even gonna say all my stats. Y'all don't even need to know all that. Just know.
There you go.
Just know I'm a good student. So I'm very interested to see like what he's gonna say that I don't know so far. I don't.
Oh, hey, real quick while I'm thinking about it. Hey, everybody smash the like button, no matter where you're at. If it's got a thumb on it, it's pointing up. Please give us a smash on that, right? And also, if you're over on Gary's channel, please come by and say hi on my channel. I'd love to have you as a subscriber because we're going to be doing this every week. We're going to keep going. We got so many things to talk about you wouldn't even believe. And
he said, I think you found the one that is pointing up. I love it. Oh man, that's hilarious. He said, "Hit the one that's sticking up." Yeah, hit that one. Oh my god, yeah, we're going to be doing this every Thursday, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, cool. And we're going to bring some heat. We're going to bring some heat, and we're going to bring some entertainment as well. It's not just going to be some like heavy conversation every single time. We're going to do some, you know, family oriented stuff. I want to get to know everybody. I don't want to just talk about like, well, if we do that, yeah, that's great. And you know what I'm saying? And it seems like doing your homework all the time, but sometimes you just want to chill and, you know, watch a movie and just, you know, open a beer, you know, pour some wine and just chill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Because
absolutely. We gotta do that.
I would throw on the jazz in a second.
There you go. Hell yeah. It's about hanging out, and we'll talk about culture, all kinds of things. There's so much to talk about. Now that we can, you know, we got this going on. It's gonna be awesome. But yeah, I just want to say that while I had a chance. But let's watch this young man and what he has to say.
I think it could be much. I'm not gonna cap. Like, it's a lot that I know that I think I know. And I just want to know, like, there's no way the school has been lying to me this long. So without further ado, let's get right into this joint. Yeah.
The instrumental use of the history of slavery today also underlies the claim that slavery grew out of racism. For most of its long history, which includes most of the history of the human race, slavery was largely not the enslavement of racially different people, for the simple reason that only in recent centuries has either the technology or the wealth existed to go to another continent to get slaves and transport them en masse across an ocean. People were enslaved because they were vulnerable, not because of how they looked. The peoples of the Balkans were enslaved by fellow Europeans, as well as by the peoples of the Middle East, for at least 6 centuries before the first African was brought to the Western Hemisphere.
Wait, what?
Before the modern era.
Who are Balkans? I've never even heard of the Balkans before. And they were enslaved before. I did not know that. I already learned.
Before the first African was brought to the Western Hemisphere. Before the modern era. By and large, Europeans enslaved other Europeans. Asians enslaved other Asians. Africans enslaved other Africans. And the indigenous peoples of the Western Hemisphere enslaved other indigenous peoples of the Western Hemisphere. Slavery was not based on race, much less on theories about race. Only relatively late in history did enslavement across racial lines occur on such a scale as to promote an ideology of racism that outlasted the institution of slavery itself. Wherever a separate people were enslaved, they were disdained or despised, whether they were different by country, religion, caste, race, or tribe.
Wow.
In East Africa,
So already I did not know that. Like, I figured because slavery didn't start in the Americas or the Western civilizations. So I figure like other places had slavery. I usually thought it was under a caste system or a caste system where they specified your specific class, but I didn't know it was like, I didn't know every single race had slavery. I knew it was slavery in Africa, obviously, because if you read the Bible, it's slavery in there. But I didn't know like every single place did slavery. So learn something new.
religion, caste, race, or tribe. In East Africa, the Maasai were feared slave raiders, and other African tribes, either alone or in conjunction with Arabs, enslaved their more vulnerable neighbors. As late as 1891, it was reported that Manyuema slavers had demoralized surrounding tribes, destroying crops, and famine reigned everywhere. Even in the early 20th century, Abyssinians were still raiding other Africans and carrying off slaves. It was 1922 before the British had gained sufficient control in Tanganyika to stamp out slavery there. Arabs were the leading slave raiders in East Africa, ranging over an area larger than all.
How do you even know all this, bro? You're definitely right. I've never learned about any of this. I think in schools they try to paint the narrative that and I hate that that's done in education. Like it's about narratives. Why can't you just teach me information and let me create my own narrative? That's what it should be. You should just tell me the information and be like, wow, let me draw the narrative. That's what school should be. You shouldn't be enforcing a narrative on me, because then you're just brainwashing me at that point. But then when you, whatever. But I definitely did not know this.
All of Europe. The total number of slaves exported from East Africa during the 19th century has been estimated to be at least 2 million. The form in which the story of slavery has reached most people today has been along the lines of the best-selling book and widely watched television miniseries Roots by Alex Haley.
I watched Roots.
Challenged on the historical accuracy of Roots, Haley said, "I tried to give my people a myth to live by." This instrumental use of history,
What?
or purported history,
Yeah, you
is
heard that
open to the
right. He
same
said myth.
objections as other instrumental myth making. Despite the impression created by Roots, during the era of the massive slave trade from West Africa, a white man was more likely to catch malaria in Africa than to catch slaves himself. The average life expectancy of a white man in the interior of sub-Saharan Africa at that time was less than 1 year. By and large, men from Europe or the Western Hemisphere.
This feels so uncomfortable listening to, bro. Like, and I don't mean that in a this isn't right type of way. I mean that in a like, I really can't believe what I'm listening to type of way, because it's like you don't learn about this, that a white person had more chances of catching malaria than catching a slave in Africa during the, I guess, the peak or the origin of the slave trade in the Western civilization. I don't know, but it just feels uncomfortable to listen to, as if I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just uncomfortable, man.
1 year. By and large, men from Europe or the Western Hemisphere came to the coasts of Africa, bought their slaves, and left as soon as possible. Even so, the death rates among the white crews of the ships carrying slaves to the Western Hemisphere themselves. It was only much later, after quinine and other medical measures enabled Europeans to survive where there were tropical diseases, was it possible for them to invade Africa in force and establish empires there. But by then, the Atlantic slave trade had already been ended. During the era.
So one thing I want to point out is that you got to realize all that money from the slave trades coming into Africa, right? The people that were running the slave trades out of Africa were extremely wealthy and the elitists of that country at the time. Like trying to go in there with force with that much there's many resources and that much power at the time, that would have been, that wouldn't have gone very well at all. So you always just see this picture right here, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you don't see the guys on the other side that were actually catching these tribes and enslaving them and what they were doing. You don't see those pictures, so we don't get that in history. That's just not there. But if you look back and you see who the wealthiest people were at the time, that was the Africans. They were ruling it. They were rocking it. So I don't know. I've tried to learn more about African history and the history of Africa itself and what was going on during different periods of time. And there were dominant factions that were just running over everybody. So I just want to point that out. Yeah. So I guess, what do you think, Gary, so far?
I think we got a new member.
Yeah, we did.
Oh man, thank you, talking. I truly appreciate it. You're going to enjoy talking trash over here, I promise you. So yeah, you know what bothers me about all this is because so many of us we're focused on the wrong thing, man. Like we're focused on the wrong thing. There's so much in history that we don't know, and we're basing our hatred and our, the way we talk to one another on something we do not know. We was told by you might have been told by your mother or your uncles or whatever that you can't trust whites, or you was told by your whatever you can't trust blacks, and it's just, I want that to stop. But how do we change that? Well, this right here, showing that everybody's crazy to everybody. In other words, if I, being a black man, go to Africa, you know how they're going to treat me? They're going to treat me like I'm an outsider, like I don't belong, because I don't. Right? Now, should I be treated that way? No. But I'm going to have to assimilate into their culture if I want to survive. Just going to have to. And that's just what it is. This is mind blowing. I've been reading this stuff. A subscriber of mine, Danielle, she got me on Thomas Sowell a while back, and I've been reading his stuff off and on. Well, not reading it, but listening to it in Audible. And yeah, he's every time it's like you listen to this book. When you listen to this man, you can't listen to him too long because you're too much work. You're like, I can't. I got to stop. But it does help change your perspective on many things, right? Because like I can't be racist against people that's when I know this information. How can I possibly race? So that's why this is so important.
Of that trade, Africa was largely ruled by Africans who established the conditions under which slave sales took place. The crew of a slave ship was in no position to defy African rulers and their armies by going out across the land and capturing people willy-nilly. The stronger African peoples captured and enslaved the weaker peoples. The same pattern found over the centuries in Europe, Asia, the Western Hemisphere, and Polynesia. In Nyasaland, the Ngoni and Yao swaggered over and terrorized other tribes. In Uganda, the Baganda made life miserable for their neighbors. And the Nyoro and Hima of Anko enslaved Toro women and children. The Tutsi
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Yeah.
So that means there's a very, very high chance that my ancestors were sold into slavery
by
other Black people.
Yep.
Whoa. Man, I'm feeling his moment right here.
Right. You know, I'm pause it. I want to tell you how I felt when I first heard that. I didn't want to believe it. I did not want to believe it because it meant that I had to let go of all kinds of biases that was not true. It really does rock your world.
Yeah, you're changing a belief system on the fly. You know, you can't, you know, and that's the power of Thomas Sowell and his information. It's just, you know, you couldn't hear it from your teachers the same way. You couldn't hear it from some you know, some woke white liberal the same way. You know, that's what I'm saying. It's like when you hear it from this intelligent man who's dedicated his life to the studies, it's powerful. Like Thomas Sowell has that power in him that he can demand that upfront respect and then give you the information, and you're like, wow, you know, wow.
No, I was not taught any of this in school. None of this.
Yeah, neither was I. Neither was I. Nope. It started right when the white people got the slaves, and that was how it started. And that, from history, from public school history.
This is what I was taught in school. White people had slaves. You are a permanent underclass, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's what I was taught. In a nutshell, that's what I was taught in school.
Man. Now, do you have any contradictions in your mind? Like, and this may be just a difference that we need to learn about. But did you have contradictions in your mind when you see, you know, the Black teacher, the Black principal, the Black store owner, the Black politician, the Black person in power, like, and say, well, hold on, they're doing good. They're doing good. Are we really underclassed, or is that just a perception that's, you know, that we don't quite have a grasp on yet?
I think I understand what you're saying. So let me make sure that I understand. Are you saying that having role models or people that was, you know, running the show looking like me, did that change my outlook on life? Is that what you're asking?
Right. When they're telling you that you're a permanent underclass, but you see other Black people that don't appear to be underclass, is that kind of like a contradiction?
Oh, like was it a contradiction?
Yeah.
No, not really. It was not a contradiction, because even though I saw a whole bunch of people on TV, right, and I saw a whole bunch of people in the place of power, I guess, you know, managers, principals, and stuff like that, you'll have a whole bunch of Black people that say that they're tokens, right? They'll call them tokens, or, you know, Uncle Toms, and that's how they explain that away. Come to find out, that's just their own insecurities talking. It's not, they couldn't do it, so they want to, you know, label them like, they sellouts. Because we Blacks hear that all the time. You're a sellout because you decided to leave You decided to leave the rat infested environment where gunfire happens every 15 minutes and you done got jumped 17 times. You are a sellout for walking away from that. Yeah, well, I guess I'm a sellout because I'd rather be alive than so
Right.
but we had those type of people that would do that, and it's like the crab in the barrel mentality. You're darned if you do, darned if you don't.
Yep.
So when I see people like I don't know, I'll just throw Damian John. Let's say Damian John. I see people like Damian John out there and he making it work, and I'm like, that's awesome. But then I look at how he made it work. I don't look at the business aspect of it. I'm just looking at the advertising and the niche that he utilized. All I wanted to be was like Mike.
All of us, wanted to be like Mike.
my father absolutely hated that guy because my father was a Knickerbockers, right? So the only team that the Knicks just couldn't
help. Oh, Nick. Okay, I got you. You said he liked the Knicks.
The Knicks, yeah, full name Knickerbockers. So but you see why they just shorten it up to Knicks. It sounds so much better.
Yep.
So so he couldn't stand Jordan. So that was my dad. So I couldn't stand Jordan either. He cheating, Dad. See, he cheating. How you supposed to take off from the freaking 3-point line? He cheating. He got robo sneakers. And my father just sitting there quiet because he can't believe this man just did this. So but I said he cheated. Oh man, but back to what I was saying. You have a lot of the crab and barrels mentality around in that environment, and it's very, very hard to break. You have to be mentally freaking. You got to be a mental tank, not to be infiltrated by that way of being, right? When you're in the hood, when you're in the ghetto, when you're in the midst of it, the energy, it's cancerous, it's toxic, it's poison. It will eventually rot you out. My wife and I, when we moved, because we had a very, very rough 3 years, and when we left Patterson, we had to stay with my mom for a year. And when we got there, we was riding high. We were strong. We was, saying ready to get back at it. This is right after COVID. And I was in Patterson. So I'm getting ready to get I'm only going to be there for a few months, maybe a few at the very, very most a few months, but we're waiting for our income tax to come. My credit was right, so we was just ready to leave New Jersey all together. We was trying to get out of New Jersey, and one thing happened. Things just kept falling apart because we lost 30% of our income when we came out of COVID. So anybody that's lost any kind of amount of money knows how damaging that is to your finances. So we're trying to get into a place where it's cheaper, right? We was looking at like South Carolina because we got family down there and stuff like that, and it was much cheaper. We just came from there. We went to vacation to see her grandmother, and all this other good stuff was going on. So we was ready to leave, but I had to stay with my mom until we get the tax return. Unfortunately, we never got it. So it just went downhill from there. Now I'm in this environment, this very poor environment, and it's starting to affect me. It's affecting my wife. It's affecting my children, and we're really struggling to hold on to the peace of mind that we had, because it was no longer peace anymore. I mean, gunshots, police activity, people breaking into your cars, drug addicts constantly, right? And my wife has to get in and out of her car in this environment, and I can't protect her all the time. So that was a problem for me. There was a lot going on. And then if we stayed there too long, my kids would have to go to school there. No. So I was spazzing. I was going nuts. And I said all that to say, yes, if you're in that environment, it does become you almost have to live like them to survive, because there's no other way of surviving, right? You just got to live like that. And I started getting horrible thoughts. twisted thoughts, because I have to feed my family. You know what I mean? I can't have them eating McDonald's every day, but that's all we could afford at the time. So I was getting really bad thoughts, and I was like, you know what? We got to get the hell out of here, because I'm about to make a mistake. We got to get out of here. So yeah, man, it's rough. So yes, it can be contradictory, but it's backed up by everybody around you that keeps saying, no, man, it's the white man, and then this is the white man. And I'm like, okay, when did you find a white man? No, because it's systematics and the systems, and the systems is set up where the systems make the work. And I'm like, okay, so can we learn how the system works? Nah, man, they hide that information. You can't find out what's going on. You see how big those books are? It's like 50,000 pages long, and you got to go through this, and then they got sub departments, and you got to go, follow the coordinates. And I'm like, yeah, I know it's work, but can we figure out to make it work? Like, we can do it, but you feel like, what's the point? You feel like you're so far behind. There's no point. And I think that's where me and Brasson was having this conversation as well many times, when I was like, look, I get what you're saying. I hear where you're coming from, where you just got to get up and do it. But when you're in that environment, getting up and doing it is not easy. It really does take its toll. And yeah, I think that's where we have to have some strong emotional people to come and grab us by the hand and say, let's go. And I know this sounds really kind of needy, and I know a lot of Blacks are not like going to want to hear this, but it's true. Some of us need to be taken by the hand. That I just really believe if we did that, it will work out. See you, Susan.
Let me give you the flip side on that. The flip side.
What's that?
Because I was thinking about that as you were saying. In terms of the days, right? Take that same thing you're talking about. Now apply it to the white society in sense of when the media and if you and hey everybody, by the way, this series is called Repairing History Together. It's going to have its own playlist, but I have one from the build-up series to this series, which is called just Repairing History. I covered all this in there, and there is when I refer the titles, is where you can go find the information I'm talking about. So it's in that stream. So please take a look at that playlist, and it'll give you all the rundown on the Thomas Sowell stuff we're talking about. We're still going to pull some stuff up from Thomas Sowell and look at it here, but I did the full rundown all the way back to the beginning there with him. So you can find all your Thomas Sowell information there. But what I want to talk about is the Jim Crow era, because like my philosophy on this is that the establishments was come between us, right? The establishment of power, whatever that is. And when they started rolling out the propaganda about Blacks after slavery, scaring the hell out of white folks about Blacks, always putting that thing, they were building up that almost like the owner's revenge, or what they established, because the owners were the slave owners were the establishment, by the way. Right. The average white person didn't own slaves. The average white person had empathy for slaves. So it was a different thing, right? But they rolled that brainwashing out, right? They rolled that whole thing we talked about really early in my other series, where how the mind works, how the establishment brainwashes people into believing things by using archetypes, right? So they pulled this fear out, and they all these people who didn't even have an established relationship, and maybe in a lot of cases had never seen a Black person before, had these immediate establishment fears pumped into their head over these manufactured stories and all these other things that were going on at the time, in order to create that division. Because if we ever came together, we'd be stronger than anything they'd ever seen. But they got to keep us divided. They got to pick at the wounds, right? They got to try to bring everybody down so that they're necessary, so they can keep their generational power intact. But here's the thing. The white folks at the time there were having to go along with the racist people around them, or the people that were bought into the establishment, the people that were fear mongering, that were into the drama and into the blame and into because a lot of these people were suffering on the low end too. They were in poverty too, but they got to find some reason that things aren't going right. So then the media hands them, here you go, here it is, get mad about it, just like they do it today, but they just do it the other way around, right? And they but at the time, they were going along to get along too. So when I hear you talking about the mentality that you were subjected to in New Jersey, right? It reminds me of the mentality that was going around way back when, right? And that's the one point I'd like to hopefully we could talk about. Hopefully people would get and realize that there's white pressure too that coming on people back in that day to be a certain way, right? And if they didn't go along with it, they might not be able to feed their kids. They might have been in the same situation as Gary, just way back then, with a whole different side of the coin going on. That's what I was thinking about when you were talking, in terms of the comparison, is that I felt like a lot of whites were pressured into this belief system. And not only were they manipulated into it by the media and by the establishment of power, the politicians, the people who wanted power, the people who wanted slavery back, the people who were bitter because they lost money over it, whatever their fucking problem was, right? But it was like, there were just regular folks hanging out, trying to make their way in the world, pressured by the societies they were living in to be a certain way.
Well, there's something that I forget who said it. It went all the way up. I think it was Mike who said it. He said that it's a culture, and he's spot on. It is in fact a culture. It's how we survive in that environment, right? Because everybody figure out a way. There you go. It's an inner culture. Everyone learned how to survive in that inner city. It is absolutely a slow death. You get to a point where you stop caring. Like I'm very big on cleaning up my surroundings. I don't like dirty environments, and because I became from poverty, right? My mother and dad, they didn't have much, so we lived where, there were roaches everywhere, and the plumbing didn't work that well, and there were rats running around, and you slept on the floor, and you was just happy that you had a door with a lock. You might not have a door knob, but you have a door with a lock, and you'll put duct tape around the hole, so you can block out the cold and keep unwanted bugs out, even though for some reason all the bugs seem to find a way to anyway, but you still do what you got to do. And when a toilet don't work, you take toilet paper and you cover the feces as if that's going to mask the smell, but that's what you do until you wait for the landlord or to call the superintendent to come and fix it. And that might be 2, 3, maybe 4 days before you get it. And you had to stand in the soup. You had to stand in the lines to get your stuff. And that's just what life was. I remember when we went back to Jersey City, and I smelled a wino for the first time in years, and it was a pleasant smell. It was pleasant because I grew up around it. I grew up being around winos. So I remember when my dad, he was a singer, so he would go to the clubs and he will have me in one of the stools while he was singing with his group. And we'll go through the back, and there'll be a wino asking for change. And that's how I remember that smell. And it didn't bother me. My wife almost threw up, but it was pleasant to me because it reminded me of my dad. So those type of things happen when I was, happened to me when I was poor. So now fast forward, I don't want to be poor no more. I despise bugs. I despise roaches. I see a roach. Me and my wife see a roach. We ready to. All right. So, well, bleach comes out. The Comet comes out. The freaking the roach spray. Saying we got blowtorches in it. Some bitch trying to get rid of these bastards because we don't want nothing to do with them. What up, Thomas? So we have that experience of not wanting to be around that anymore. So yeah, you get to a point where you just want to do the best you can in any environment. So when I got to Newark and I was on my mother's street, I'm sitting here literally trying to clean it up, at least in front of our door, right? Because I strongly believe if enough people make an effort, it will trickle through. It eventually start to connect, but it was too thick there. It was just too thick. Like it was too thick. It was not going to work on that street. You want to do better. You really do want to do better. And sometimes you don't know how to, because it's like, well, how I get out of this? It's a sucky situation, bro. And I'm so glad we're out. But I think about all the people that's still stuck in there. Like my brother's there. They're used to it. This is just norm for them. They don't really have like, well, that's not true. My mother knows what it's like to live in an environment that is not like that. But she grew up in that environment, so she's very comfortable in it, right? I got out of that environment when my father got us out of that environment when I was 13. So because we was out of that environment so long, my sister and me, we got used to living where there was less crime, right? Even when I was living in Patterson, I was only a few blocks away from Route 20. All I had to do was hit 9th Ave, go down a few blocks, and Route 20 was right there. I didn't even have to deal with Patterson. I lived in Patterson for what, 15 years. I didn't shop there. There were certain things that we had to do downtown, but I avoided that environment like the plague. I hit Route 20, boom, often wherever I'm going, whether it's Newark, whether it's whatever. I just avoided that. So I was not really around it. And our street was really nice. It was clean. It was congested, but it was still nice. So getting back to New Jersey, to Newark, where it's just poverty all over the place, and freaking crack house right across the street from my mom's home. Yeah, it's going to affect you. It's inevitable that's going to affect you.
Yeah, no doubt. It's I mean, hopefully that's motivation, right? I mean, I got to, I'm not anywhere, right? But I got to this point in my life by taking the hard road, you know, and I slept on the floors, man. So I know what it's like, man. I mean, you just never give up. You always just keep striving for that end goal. Me, it was family. It was, you know, I need to be in a place where I can have a family and have children. And, you know, that kept me going, and that kept me wanting to provide a better place. So like even those jobs I hated to take, you know, showing up on time, being there, making sure you keep that income coming on so that you can move yourself to a better place and a better place. So coming out of college, even I went to college, I came out of there with no clue what I wanted to do. So it was useless, right? You come out of there and you have a hard lesson. You got to learn that just because you went to college, and unfortunately my generation was told you just go to college and everything's going to work out, right? But you go to college and you're waiting for that day for things to work out, and it doesn't. Like, you got to be taught, you know, you got to do something with that education. You got to know why you're there, or you don't need to be there. A lot of people don't hear that, at least my generation. I think they're hearing it more now. That's what I tell my son. I'm like, you don't have to go to college. I was like, you can make $1 million doing what you're doing right now, and you can make it before you even are college aged in this point in the world, right? You just get smart on the computer, you know, make something, you sell it, you learn how it works. In fact, you might be better off without it. If you want to be a doctor, you want to be a biologist, you want to do something, you want to be a lawyer, you need to go to college. So you need to be getting ready to go to college if that's what you want to do. But don't go there without a purpose.
Right.
Right. Because you'd be better off when you don't do that. You'll be just fine. Let's put it that way. See, at a time, they sent people off to college to as almost like, okay, well, you don't know quite what to go there and figure it out. Right. Then you go there and you get in all this debt, and you got to try to figure it out. And you come out and you realize that, hey, you don't just get handed a job when you get out just because you have a degree. That doesn't make you better than anybody else.
Right.
You have to go out there and earn it like everybody else, man. And so the will to achieve your goals, whether it's getting out of a bad situation or getting yourself to a good situation, a stable situation to be able to have a family or kids, is always, I think, the driving force there. You know, there's so many stories of people that have come from bad situations like that, and it's kept their mind. And these are the best stories, by the way. It kept their mind and their wits about them, and they went through the having to walk through the gangs, having to walk through the bad areas, having to walk through the drug addicts, having the family members that are trying to pull you in and pull you down. They kept their mind straight, and they kept working hard. They knew what they had, and they kept working at it, man. And it just reminds me so much of my son's best buddy that they grew up playing soccer together. He was a super freak athlete. He's super fast, little Barry Sanders, man. Just like cut on down. I mean, dude, phenomenal athlete at such a young age. And his dad is like right there with him too. Like, his dad's solid, man. It's a barbershop in town, like super cool dude. And just always on top of it. Great father, great mother, always there at everything he does. He's already playing for the Atlanta United academy team, the select team now. Okay, that's the pros. He's already over there in the pros.
Yeah,
That's how
that's
good he
what's up.
is, you know. But he you
That's
know what?
what's up.
He never took any of that for granted. And he's still the kid that gets out there with the ball and is trying to work on his stuff. And his dad don't have to hardly tell him anything. Like, you know, he helps him, he gives him the stuff he needs, he takes him where he needs to be. He's that dad. And but that young man knows what he has, somehow intuitively knows what he has, and he's still working hard. He's still the best kid on the field, and he's still working hard. He's gonna make it. One day I'm gonna have a jersey that says Brown on the back of it. Atlanta United,
That's what's
yeah,
up.
yeah.
Now, see that's the part that's got me on this journey, right? Because so many people on my channel stopped watching me for their own reasons. Some of them was, you know, understanding because I was a jerk, but I still am a jerk. But for the mass majority of people who did that stopped watching me, I think it was because they got me on a rampage or a rant that touched so many people emotionally, right? When it came down to Trump, but they didn't know the type of person that I was, or am, I should say. I was already breaking away from the establishment. I just didn't know I was. I just knew I was breaking away from something, right? That and when people watched that video, the Trump video, when I said message to Tim Pool, when they watched that, so many people tried to copy that, not realizing why it worked, why it went viral. It had nothing to do with Trump. It was the fact that I couldn't say the word Trump. Like, I was not allowed to say Trump, and I didn't like that. Like, why is it that I can't say Trump? Why can't I support my president? Why can't I do that? That was the thing that that connected everybody. So once that connection happened, it was quite easy for us to run off of that. But then the more videos I did around it, the more I realized, holy crap, this is rigged. There's nothing we can do here. There's nothing I can do. All this is rigged. When I saw what Trump went through, what they put him through, what they're putting through him, put him through now, whether he's guilty or not, okay, they would never have attacked their own like this. So it's like, so it doesn't matter if he's guilty. It doesn't matter if who cares? All right. The fact that you have so many people eager to make sure he never become the president again is enough for me to say, I don't want to be a part of that club at all. All right. So I was always trying to break away from that. And then you get people that saying, well, you should have been talking about this and you should have been talking about that. I'm like, okay, you haven't listened to a word I said, because I'm not for sale. I'm trying to walk away from being sold. I'm tired of selling my time and my life to somebody else so they can be wealthy. I want my own time back. So why would I get on YouTube and sell my time to you on YouTube? I'd rather talk to the air before I sell my time to somebody where they're going to say, you got to talk about this and only this for the rest of your life.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Not doing that.
There's just people out there in the crowd that want to tell you how to do things and how to do it, but they ain't doing it. Right.
Not only are they not doing it, but if I had a passion for it, that's one thing. But I don't have a passion for freaking politics. I have a passion for people, but not politics. I can give a crap about politics. Who cares? You know what I'm saying? I don't care. Like, are we partying tonight because you need to get money so we can go out tonight? I want to go out and have some fun, and it's real hard to have fun with nobody when everybody's broke. You know what I'm saying? Women don't like to have, relations when there's no money running. You know what I'm saying? Let's get some money. Let's have some fun. You know what I'm saying? Let's start making some more babies and let's have a reason to live. You know what I mean? Like this,
that's right.
This right here is not working. So that's where I'm at with it. I don't want to talk about something that I don't feel is going to benefit me. But then you get to something like this where you can connect on an emotional level and say, all right, so we do see that there is a divide. There is something trying to hold us back, because the stuff that I can learn from Alex, the stuff that I can learn from you, the stuff that I can learn from Logic, the stuff that I can learn from even Michael, I can talk, the stuff that I can learn from you guys just by having a conversation and saying, hey, Somebody might get offended. That's okay. It won't kill you.
Yeah.
That's the logic. It will not kill you. All right. No Ma'am was awesome with Married with Children. Everybody loved it, even women. Okay. Everybody loved it. It was awesome. All right. Al Bundy
Yeah.
was hilarious. All right.
Mhm.
And he was saying exactly what every man wanted to say. Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They love that man because of it. So I'm like, well, if he can pull it off and he's just nothing but a shoe salesman on television, I can pull it off too. Right. So that's where I think we are. I think we're doing some great work. I don't care if we get the masses because we don't need the masses. We just need a
Yep.
few people. I mean, if we get a bunch of people just say, all right, we're going to support this cause right here, and we're going to move on this, and it's not a head anymore. Everybody has the same mentality, similar to how they're doing it with the LGBTQ, right? How they're trying to make everybody, but they can't get their stuff together for nothing. You know, Logic, I don't know what the latest terms are now, but you're going to have to update me. We update each other every week. He has to tell me, all right, so here's the new terms this week. And I'm like, so wait a minute, what happened to this term last week? Oh, they got rid of that term. That's not a term they work anymore. Okay, so these are new terms. All right, so how long are these going to last? Maybe a week, possibly 4 days. I'll keep you posted. That's our
But see,
conversation.
that's the whole thing. The control. That's another root cause. In fact, I see another of the pillar root causes is the control of language, and that it's a godlike power. I think I told you about that on Saturday night. But division being one, control of language being another, and we're talking about kind of the same things here tonight too, because we're talking about how we got to get our communication right. We got to get our definitions right. We got to be able to talk to each other without fear. Because we're never going to get anywhere if we have that out. It's an invisible fear. It's not standing in front of us. It ain't me and you right here. It's when people come out there. It's the everybody else isms that come into their mind, not the person standing in front of them. Because I can have a real conversation with anybody I meet on the streets, and it doesn't matter who it is, man. Like, when you're talking, go to the store, run into somebody in the store, run into somebody out around the house or out at a soccer game or whatever it is, have a real conversation with them. And, I don't feel like we don't get deep in anything. We can communicate and get along in society, which just goes to show you, I'm the kind of person I just want to kind of go home and do my own thing anyways.
Right.
I'm like you, man. I'm an introvert for the most part. I'm an extroverted introvert, right? I can have my moments, but I mean, I love my alone time. I love just my me time, or just me and my family time.
Right.
That's really what I live for. But but having the important conversations that's gonna heal division, we got to take some risks there. We got to be willing to say some things that might not fly. And for the white people out there, we got to be willing to have a little bit more faith and trust in Black folks when we're talking to them about things.
Now,
and
let
just
me ask
give
you
them
a question.
that. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. How do you think we can go about having trust around that, right? I mean, I know conversation like this are very good because it's very comfortable. It's a very comfortable, chill setting. There's no real violence that can possibly happen. But this is shallow as hell. Like, this is still interfacing through a computer. Right.
Yeah.
So like, how can we bring this to the next level? Maybe get on a Zoom call where we're all talking to each other. We see each other's faces. We can have a conversation, instead of reading their words, I'm looking you in your face.
Yeah, that's I think I follow you. And as far as like background goes, like offline, off the
like, we're not going to be online. We'll use Zoom. Like, Zoom is a perfect place to go, right? Because one, you have to pay for the service, and two, you control the whole thing. You're in 100% control of it. It won't be broadcast anywhere. It's just some private environment. It's a private setting, and we can all go there using, because I used to be a part of men teams, MDI, Mentor, Discover, and Inspire. And I'm thinking about bringing a team to Oklahoma where we can do some Zoom calls and have a conversation amongst the men and women if we want to go that route, but definitely the men, because men are suffering tremendously right now. And we can go ahead and just sit down and just have brotherly love, like talk. Like, this is all right. So yeah, it might sound a little weird at first because like, I don't know, it's a bunch of men talking about their feelings. I'm like, you have no idea how freaking freeing that is. You really don't. Because most of the time we're not talking about our feelings. We're talking about regular life, cracking jokes, having a good time, laughing.
Yeah.
Like, I would say out of most of the time, you'll probably get 10, maybe 15% where it's emotional. But for the most part, it's just chill. So how do we get that going?
I mean, I think doing stuff like this is the start. Excuse me.
Mhm.
I think doing stuff like this is the start of it, right? This is a stepping stones to get to where you're talking about. You're into the change the culture aspect of what we need to be in solution culture, right? And this is the education part of it. This is the stepping stones to do that. To say, hey, look, these guys are out there doing it right now, and then on the backs of this, introduce that concept, right? Introduce the concept of, okay, so now let's take it in a more personal way, because what my channel is about is solution culture, right? So we're building a culture of solutions and solution-minded people here, and doing this right here is a major part of it. It's like a huge leap forward in that effort. And yeah, and hearing you say that's awesome, dude. I would totally do something like that with you, but this, I wouldn't be able to do it online, obviously. The reason why,
look,
you have a lot of toxic people out there that just want to bring everything down.
You can always stay anonymous. You never have to show your face. It's the same thing as YouTube, as StreamYard. You don't have to show your face. Only it's not about like whatever you do the whole offline thing. That's a different situation. Let's say, for example, we decided to meet up somewhere and we all got together. Then you'll be like, hey, I'm winning reality. And what I'm saying, like, oh, hi guy, whatever. But online, you can still have your picture. Who gives a crap? Nobody really cares. Just, like, I know why you're doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it.
Yeah.
You're protecting your family. You're protecting your identity. You're probably some amazing person somewhere and they can destroy you. I don't know. But the point is that it's up to you how you want to, do it. I'm saying let's put a guild together and play Star Wars or World of Warcraft or whatever freaking hot game out, and we just, go at it and have a good time. Like, my Discord is dormanted right now because I haven't been working on it. But yeah, there's so many ways we can do it. It's just that I've never had enough. It always felt like I was by myself with it. Like, right. Like, cause there's a lot of people that are interested in going to participate. And then there's people that are willing to do the work, right? You're willing to do the work. I need people that's willing to do the work, right? Cause I couldn't do it all on my own. I couldn't run a YouTube channel and a family and try to pay bills. And, you know what I'm saying? It was way too much. So like an organizer or something or other, put it together. But in order to do all that, we have to trust each other. We have to trust each other. How can I trust you if everybody's saying I shouldn't? You know what I mean? Like, I want to be able to trust everybody. And unfortunately, we can't do that. So I got to trust you. I got to trust Alex. I got to trust Logic, and I usually do this offline. We was talking about this earlier. We do that offline. The YouTube, this is different. Like, I have to censor myself on YouTube. I got to make sure I don't say certain things. Like, I can't cross the line. Me and Logic been on a conversation. We've had arguments when we was arguing and he was yelling at me and I was yelling at him, and saying, I was like, it was one time he went in on me so hard. I was like, is this over? Is this done? Are we done? And he was like, no, man, we good. But I was like, you sure? Because you just said something that really hurt me. And we've been dealing with each other for what 4 or 5 years now, Logic. So it's like those kind of relationships. It's like, he's my brother now. Right? That's my brother, Wally, he's my brother now. You know what I mean? Hood, that's my brother. We met online, yes, but we're brothers now. Like, we've had serious conversations, some heart-wrenching conversations that'll make you think about your life. Not on some like, you know, I shouldn't have did that. No, damn, I should not have done that. Like conversations that make you sit back and really, really think. And those are conversations I think that makes us grow, right? Because I'm listening to what Lottie is going through. I'm listening to what you're going through. And I'm like, damn, I've had similar issues with that as well. And now I'm connected to you. And I realized, hey, this is way different than what they made it look out to be. This is why I say all the time, keep corporate out of your relationship. Corporate's for corporate. All right.
Yeah.
Corporate for corporate. Leave it out of your relationship. You know? But a lot of people want to bring that in.
Yeah. Well, you know, the hard part is like that there's let me put it this way. If I had done that with the last group that I was hanging out with for like the last year, who I'm not hanging out with now, right? If I'd done that, I would have been toast.
What do you mean?
If I'd ever showed my face or gotten too descriptive about who I am. Now, I'm not saying that's the same with you guys, right? I'm at all. Like, I'd hang out with you in a second, right? I'm not worried about that. I know that you have integrity and that you're real, man. And I got that sense from you right away. But it's like,
don't let that fool you now. I don't. Man.
I know. I know. But I don't think that you need to be the way these other people need to be. I don't think you need to be that way. So, you know, you be like this later. Right.
Yeah. I'll be gone. Like, I'm not, listen.
That's how I am too.
When they start coming at me all hard, like, you know, saying, talk about this and talk about that and do this and do that. I was like, yo, sir, let me just, I'm the wrong house dude to tell to do something. I had another word, but I'm not going to say it. I'm the wrong house dude to do that. Too. You telling me what to do will confirm that I will not do it.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
I'm really that type of guy. Like, don't tell me what to do. Especially when I don't really know if I want to do it. Like, I'm not the type of guy that will do anything that I don't want to do. I have to have a reason for it. It has to make sense.
Too.
And if it doesn't make sense, I can't do it. Like, what does it make sense for me to do something that's going to please you for this moment in time, but it doesn't please my family, it doesn't edify my channel, and it doesn't, you know, get me closer to my goal. As a matter of fact, it might pull me backwards, because now I'm saying to another half of the country, to hell with you, right? I'm not that guy. Some things I'm liberal about. I came from there. I grew up as a liberal. So there's certain things that's liberal about me. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not full way conservative. I can't be. I've only been conservative for like 3 years of my life. So how am I going to be fully conservative? There are certain things that I'm very liberal. You know what I'm saying? I like the city life. It's fun. You know what I'm saying? Very, 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 very independent in that way. I came from a line of independent women, so naturally I like to be independent. You know, I don't want to be, but at the same time, I've never been on my own. And what I mean by on my own, I've never been 7 years, Gary. 7 years what? For what do you mean about that, Alex? But I've never been on my own as far as I moved out of my mother's house and I got married. There was no in between. There was no bachelor, right? So I went from mom to wife. So
oh wow,
I've never had. I didn't have that in the middle, but I still was a pretty much loner, conservative. Yeah, you could say that because it was 2020. No, I was conservative. If I have conservative tendencies, I can't even. Here's the reason why. That's the problem that I'm having right there, Alex. How can I don't even know if I can call myself conservative. Right? There are certain things I'm conservative about.
Here you go. I got the word for you, if you'd like it. Anti-establishment, man. That's what I call myself.
Anti-establishment. Yes, I'm anti-establishment. I like that. Me and Logic have talked about this many times. He is so adamant of trying to get me to be a libertarian. He's like, "You're a libertarian. You need to take the test." I'm like, I don't think that test is going to you can prove that I'm a, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, take the test, you're libertarian. But
that's the reason why I'm like, you know, it's just them against us. I don't care what your ideology is. We have to get the corruption out of the system. We have to get back together and unified, and we have to like become a better society before any of that ideological stuff fucking makes a difference. It doesn't make any difference because look, take this out. A libertarian, a conservative, and a liberal all having a conversation about ideologies. Hell, throw anarcho-capitalists in there too, right? They're all coming from the most ideal position, uncorruptible position of their ideologies. The conversation is done, right? There's nothing good coming out of that conversation because you're all talking about uncorrupt systems. How about this? Have a debate about which one of your systems can be the least corruptible and how you're going to do that. How you're going to get the bugs out of the system. Because we all know they got problems, right? But right now we got a corruption problem so deep that they could turn an entire country against each other over a superficial thing, the color of skin. You know, that's ridiculous. And that we fall for it and we go along with it every day. And so we're enabling them to keep abusing us. This is all the cycle of abuse, man. The cycle of abuse leads to the cycle of control. And that's what I'm trying to talk about here. And this is why healing division, coming together and figuring out how to fix the problems at the root are so damn important. Like you have no idea. Like this could like literally, if something like this could spring up in different places all over the place, like they could be like 100 channels like this. They're doing the same thing.
Oh, I'm sure
we'd
there
be
are,
well
and
on
they
our
don't
way.
want us to connect.
You know?
I'm sure there's a lot more channels like us than you think, but we can't connect because they're trying to keep us separated.
I'd love to meet them.
Really
I'd love to
truly
know.
believe we are. They're everywhere. All right, so you got the conservative bear, right? You got Gator. Well, Gator don't really do content, but he's out there. These are just people that I know of, right? And all the channels that I do not know of. So I'm sure there's many channels that we just don't connect on whatever reason. Like there might be something needed. I don't know. But the point is that I think there's a lot more than you really think. It can't just be us out here trying to do that.
No, I think that I believe in immersion, man. I believe immersion is the way to oppose authoritarianism, as in spontaneous order, right? Like a skating rink or something like that that you can be on, where everybody just starts to go in the right direction and they ain't running into each other, but no one's telling them what to do. Right. That's that's immersion. I did a whole show on immersion talking about like that phenomena in nature that I believe is the opposite of authoritarianism, where someone's directing and putting people in their places. And there's a time for both, right? But as a counter to authoritarianism, that emergent way of coming together as the anti-establishment, right? As the people who are trying to solve problems, be solution culture is the important thing. And we realize that, hey, yeah, eventually when the time's right, when it all is supposed to be there, we will find each other like we found each other, Gary, like, you know, the same way, right?
Yeah.
We'll keep working at it and it'll happen. I tell you, Jip V right here, that's exactly how I would describe myself in a lot of ways. Constitutionalist,
Republican, voting, anti-establishment, independent here.
Yeah, I'm an independent. I've never joined a party because I realized the parties were corrupt. You know, I won't put my name on something that I don't believe is going in the right direction. Like even like I said, that last crowd I left, that would have totally burned me alive if I had given in and just turned my camera on and just gave them all the stuff they wanted. Like, you know, those people got problems, man. But it took me a long time to figure that out and get away from them.
Dude, and you know why it's going to take you a long time? Because up until a certain point, and I had the same problem, dude. I had the same friggin' problem. I didn't know what I didn't know until I knew what I knew. It just what it was. Like, dang, man, this is really starting to seem like they're just as bad as the other side.
Yeah,
like it feels that way, but I'm timid to say it. And that's when I realized, holy crap, all I did was just pick another side of the same coin. That's all I did.
Yeah.
And once I realized that, then I had to pull back from that.
Yeah, so I never joined any of the clubs, man. I never became a Republican or Democrat, and I've only voted for. You want to know who I voted for in my life? I voted for Ross Perot as my first vote. A total anti-establishment vote. Like I was always this way. Like I was just never part of any of the clubs. And I was like, okay, well, which one's against both these guys?
Yeah.
And then I went to Ron Paul to Trump, right? So again, anti-establishment, and that's what I am. Like I'm into independent, believes in Constitution, believes in as much honesty in government as possible, as limited government as possible, as much freedom as possible, right? And now as I'm older, I realize the importance of protecting innocence, protecting life, because there's a lot of predators out there. It's a sick society in a lot of ways.
Danny, what's up, girl? How you been? It's been forever and a day. How you been? I'm sorry to cut you up,
No worries.
but this is one of my mods. She's been with us for a while, and I haven't seen her in a minute. She's been being a big girl doing other things.
No, I got one too that I haven't seen in a while. When she showed up the other night, I got all excited. Nacho Kitty, wherever you're at, come on back, Nacho Kitty. Dude, yeah, she was with me from the beginning of my first mod, and when I see her pop in from time to time, I get all excited.
Yeah, but I'm listening.
Yeah. So no, I'm just saying that I just never joined a club. I had to find a way to figure out where it all worked out. I mean, that's what kind of got me on the journey, right? It's like I had to start. One day I realized that things were messed up, and I was trying to figure out, well, okay, which side really is the good guy side. I looked at the definitions again to refresh myself on what conservative liberal meant. I realized that neither side was acting like their definition or what they were supposed to be doing. Then my dad and another mentor of mine suggested around the same time, have you ever considered they're working together? So I was like, man, maybe they are.
Okay, so I've always felt kind of like they did work together. But it's like at the same time, you don't want to believe it because that would mean that nothing you do matters, right?
Right.
So you try to
get to that moment.
So you don't want to get to that point because I didn't start voting, like legit voting, until Obama, right? That was when I first made my first vote. Because when Hillary said the whole hot sauce thing, I was like, yeah, I'm not, because I've been around people like that for so long that when she said that. Yeah, so she was on.
I didn't even know that shit. I was like, "What is she talking about? Hot sauce? I love hot sauce, man." What kind of hot sauce you got?
Here's the thing: like, it wasn't so much, and this is the thing reason why she missed me. It wasn't so much that because she legit does have, according to sources, do keep hot sauce in her purse. She legit does that, but when Charlemagne the God asked, it seemed like he was trying to, pander to us. She said, did it work? And when she said that, I was like, damn, I can't vote for you now. I can't. Because even if that was a joke, that was the wrong joke. Right? Because it's like, I was already on the fence with you because of Bill and the scandal with Monica, because I'm a married man, so everybody's like, oh my God, don't worry, it's all right. I'm like, so you giving this pimp a pass? Why would you do that? And then you look at her and she's not on some like crazy woman stuff. I'm like, that don't seem right. Because if I embarrass my wife like that, winning,
right? You don't deserve it.
Come on. There is no. She's ghost. She's gone. Ask Shaq, gone. Ask Kobe.
Right.
Well, I would say Michael Jordan, but I think Cookie went back to Michael. But you see what I'm saying?
Ask Tiger.
Ask Tiger. Most women, they're like, I have to leave you. It's by principle I have to leave you. This woman stayed. That did not sit well with me. And then on top of that, you said, did it work? And then the freaking emails and all that scandal. I say, you know what? I can't vote for her. I can't. So I voted for Trump. And I was reluctant to do that because they didn't trash his name so much. And it was very uncomfortable for me. So now I'm like, I don't trust him at all. I'm looking at my local levels. I want to vote on my local levels. Whatever happens over there in that environment, it happens. But locally, we're making sure we're set. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
this is
Gotta
our
do
first
that.
line of defense. I don't want you interfering with my state. Do whatever you want to do in this DC, but I don't want you interfering in my state. And there's no power. I have no power in New Jersey. That's just no power. It's not going to happen.
Right.
You're not going to get a bunch of people who rely on Democrat funding to vote Republican. You're just not going to get it. It's not going to happen. So I had to get out of New Jersey.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, the way that I look at it is like this, no man by his enemies. And the
No man
the
by his enemies.
establishment
I like that.
well, yeah, the entire establishment went after him. Like I know they would have gone after Ron Paul, right? If Ron Paul had been able to get to that point. And the predictions that I made about Ron Paul was that if he won the nomination, all the neocons and the GOP would immediately scurry back to the left where they came from. Because what a lot of people don't realize is that and I was going to preface this by saying we can get into the political talk at some point. It's definitely a sidetrack, but I'll try to summarize it real quick in saying that the anti-establishment, right? The false left-right paradigm, which we've talked about on my show, Unveiling Reality and others. The false left-right paradigm we grew up with. What brought my attention to it was the fact that a Bush and then a Clinton and then a Bush and then what, another Clinton. I mean, they're just sharing the throne. They're sharing the throne. Meanwhile, they're vacationing together, calling each other brother and sister, and probably getting naked together and all that other stuff.
Sounds a lot like the courtrooms, don't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like they're just like that's incestuous, and it's a false perception of choice. So they're just giving us the illusion of choice. They're abusing all of us at this point, right? And like I was going to ask you when you were talking about the Clinton stuff, how, in the hot sauce, how in the world did I couldn't imagine. I thought when Biden had said, "If you don't vote for me, you ain't black," it was over. I was like, it's over. It's over. There's no way. There's no way they're going to put up with that.
No, it wasn't. And I don't even know how to speak to that, right? Because when I heard that, I just knew blacks was going to be like, oh, no, he didn't. And it was many that did say, oh, no, he didn't. But again, you got a man that's saying that he's going to do so many crazy. Because when I was in New Jersey with my mom, and the ads that was coming across her screen versus the ads that came across my screen when I was in Patterson, not the same. They're not. So they targeted people directly. Okay, this is a black neighborhood, so let's target them with these ads, right? So you'll see certain ads come up that will pull on someone's heartstrings to hate Trump, right? And that's how they won. They won through television. They won through ads. They won by breaking down his image. That's how they won. And for me, it's like, well, if that's all they got to do to win, this is a rigged game. There's nothing we can do. They needed to get they needed to get another one of them back in the home. I mean, into the White House, because even though Trump could easily be led, all they have to do is play with his ego. And I don't know if he's that naive now. I think he's a lot wiser now. But it was real easy to play with Trump's ego. That's how they got the red gun laws passed. They played with his ego. They utilized a very emotional moment in history, and they got Trump to
always
put the red law. So but if you watch that interview, when you watch how they was talking to Trump, and they was like, well, you don't know the NRA, and Trump was like, it's because y'all afraid of the NRA. I'm not afraid of them. And when he said that, I was like, damn, Trump, you fell for that, bruh. But this is after the fact. This is after he lost the election. This is after all that stuff. So you're like, dang, you fell for that. But then you realize, well, shoot, he's a tycoon. He's a he thinks he can buy everybody. You know what I'm saying? So for that, he's like, I'm this, that. I'm like, this is a completely different ball game, brother. You know what I'm
Yeah, yeah.
saying? You're in a world where
Buy it
money
or like
don't matter.
inspire them with prosperity, or like, be, okay, I'm going to give you a fair shake this time and give you the benefit of the doubt. He didn't. Yeah, that leads back to the whole idea of this underlying problem with this narcissist, the abuse cycle that causes this narcissism and this clinical narcissism in people. You know, where they think being corrupt and being cruel is the norm and the way to be, and that's how you are in this world, right? And that's why I think that you know, centralizing back on family is so important, and that's why you know, what you and your wife are doing is so important. What matters of opinions do is so important, because when you disrupt someone's childhood, and you, I mean, in a major way, you could send them in some different directions, and I'm sure you've seen a lot of this, but I have as well, and you could send them in a certain way. Now, some people get lucky and they have some good role models, and they have the right mentality and they have the right vision as a child for some reason to get through these moments. But a lot of people don't, and they end up falling into these holes. They go to crime. They go to becoming an abuser, right? They go into these very toxic worlds, and their defect, their issue, they never get dealt with. So it just becomes this cyclical thing. And when they're acting like this completely toxic person, and they just think that it's normal and that's the way to be, and they're in this cycle that they can't stop. And they're literally just running on autopilot, and they can't even see it.
Jiffy, you need to stop. Listen, the autopilot issue is because life is so freaking daunting, right? You get to a point where you just accept your fate, and you're just like, well, this is what's going to be, and you continue, and you just live your life in autopilot. And that's the matrix, right? That's the self-prisoning. That's the rat race. That's, I'm just going to do it until I die, and I'll have to be okay with it. It doesn't have to be that way. Life does not have to be that way. And I think we just need to stop looking at them and listening to them and taking cues from them. We just got to stop doing it. We gotta put some faith into ourselves. We have to put our faith back into humanity. I know that's scary, but guess what? Your ass won't be here if it wasn't for humanity. Think about it. You would not be here without humanity. So obviously humanity is willing to do what the right thing for the most part. They still bring you your beer. They still bring you your clothes. They still supply your electricity. So obviously humanity is willing to do the job. We just have to allow humanity to do their job happily now. Like, let people be free to be who they are. If you're an asshole, be an asshole. Just be like, I'm, you know what I'm saying? I'm an asshole. I'm always going to say that I'm a jerk. I am, because I am. I'm quick to hurt somebody's feelings, and it's not intentional. It's just, it happens. But
yeah,
just like Trump, the dude's from New York. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do I, he's going to, he acts and talks and thinks like a New Yorker, right?
Yeah, that's what I kept saying too. I kept saying, dude, how many of y'all work for a CEO? He's every CEO there ever was. Yeah, I worked for the same persona forever.
Yeah.
I mean, he's sales and marketing.
Kind of have to be cutthroat.
Everything's great. Yeah. And at the same time, he's ruthless. Like, there's a reason why people can do that job. I can't do that job, but someone like him can. And then you add on Brooklyn, right? He's from Brooklyn, right? Yeah, you add on Brooklyn. Yeah, New York. He's a New York City CEO. What do you want?
Right.
He's going to solve the problem. He's going to get it done, but he's not going to like, worry about your feelings or dress it up or dumb it down. He's going to talk his language, and that's okay.
And his language is brash. It's quick.
I'd rather have that than some bullshit. I mean,
look,
come on now.
If Americans,
Obama, Clinton, Bush, all those guys talking out of their ass, they're a lot more ruthless than they're talking like. But they're up there lying to your face, and they're lying to your face and smiling about it, making you feel good about it. Now, I'd much rather have someone that will hit me with some hard truths and not be too nice about it than someone who's lying in my face with a big smile on it and trying to make everything all right, knowing they're going to stab me in the back.
I would much rather somebody in our country. I would much rather somebody in the White House. And I think everybody will respect this. Somebody that has the ball saying, yeah, we're in Russia because we was doing some crazy stuff. Our bad, but this is why we was doing it. All right. So we need to make sure we that stuff don't get in somebody's we got to make sure that don't get into the wrong hands. So we got to blow these guys to Kingdom Come so they won't get this research. You with me? All right, man, we with you, but that's some don't be let us know what the hell you doing. Don't be just going out there doing stuff behind our back. We need to know about this because it's our kids out there that's going to have to go and get this done, right?
Yep.
So we need to be in the know. Don't just be doing the one. But then America got so sissified, right? You got it's so sissified, you can't tell them the truth anymore. They don't what did Jack Nicholson, you can't handle, they don't want to hear the truth. It's like, no, I'd rather hear the truth. At least I know where I stand.
And you know, I got to go back to what you guys are doing, right? You guys are trying to keep that family intact, help people keep that family intact, man. So they have that confidence. How can men be men when they can't lead their families? How can women be women when they don't have their families to care for and be the rock for? Right?
Answer.
And like,
you ready for the answer?
Let's hear it.
All right. How can men be men if they can't lead their family? You lead your family.
Yep.
That's it. There is no, you can't. I wish somebody, you can't say kiss my, okay. I can't say that in this job, but you're not the only job in town. As a matter of fact, I'll make the tires. You won't give me a job. I'll go and figure a way how to make the tires. You know what I mean? Just do it. Don't let anybody tell you what you can and cannot do in your life. This is your life. We're in the free
that's how the system is you know, it's breaking people, right? Breaking people early on. Breaking people with the
when you're
CRT, with the narcissistic abuse. They get them young.
But see, that's why they want to get rid of the parents, right? Because we're not allowing, when my kid go to school and they come back and they say, hey, dad, this, that, and the third, I'll sit there and I'll just listen to them talk. And I'm like, so why do you think that? Well, okay, is that what the Bible say? No. Do you believe it? Well, no. So it's just, that's their ideology, right? Right. Do you want that ideology for yourself? No. Okay, so that's theirs. Don't let that affect what you're doing. Live your life the way you want to live your life.
Exactly.
Case dismissed. See, when you don't get that at home, the kid is at the mercy of the freaking establishment.
Yep. You need that. And that's solid dude fathering right there. And that's what kids need. They have to have it, man. And guess what happens when they get older and they don't have it? One day they wake up and
they fall through the cracks, boy. They fall through the cracks.
They can't take care of themselves. They don't respect themselves. And then so they can't take care of family, and they're not get respect from a potential mate, a wife, you know, whatever. There's the world. And it's just like, they know the formula is to break us early. And they break us early with everything, right? And that's what we're talking about here. And it's like, you know, it's everything, and it's information based, right? So we're talking about trying to get a definition straight and being able to break down communication barriers, right? And education. You know, omitted parts of history that manufacture perception, right? They're on it already.
Right.
They've been doing it for a long time. They're good at it. We are now calling the game so we can unrig the game so that we can get on it. And how we do that is things like Thomas Sowell, like people like Thomas Sowell, who can put the history back and make things look right, so we can make, you know, we can not be divided. We can understand how we got to this place.
Yes.
Right. He helps us do that. And
I'm gonna tell you right now,
conversations like this help us do it too.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't really see, like, we may not be able to do it in our lifetime, and I've said that many times, but I really don't think we have a problem. I think it looks bad because we're in the middle of it, but there's way too many people waking up, and they're waking up too fast. Like, bruh,
that's another thing. That's another thing we talk about, the waking up fast.
Oh, they waking up fat. They like, oh no, this don't seem right, and they're finding it now. All we have to do is support these individuals in getting out of there without getting singed, right? Because even though we're not in Nazi Germany, it can become Nazi Germany relatively quickly, right? Because
Oh yeah.
they already got their soldiers in play. They already got their plan in play. They already have all the tools they need because of the freaking, school shootings and stuff like that. So they have now learned how to make these what do you call the soldiers? What do they call them? Oh man, Logic, me and Logic were talking about it.
Manchurian candidates kind of you trying to talk about?
No. It's like, one of those the soldiers
Those are
that you
justice
can
warriors?
No. It's the soldier that you can activate with a word or something. I forget the name of it, but you know what I'm talking about. So so you get those type of sleeper soldiers. There you go. So you can go
sleepers.
ahead and get a sleeper soldier to go out and do something nuts just by giving them the wrong thought. You know what I'm saying? Well, and then all of a sudden that seed just grows and grows and grows. It's funny how all these weird things that's happening you can find in the Bible. Isn't that funny? Like the seed can grow, and be wary of these type of conversations and all that stuff. All that stuff in the Bible.
Yeah, I mean, hey, look, we're not any smarter than the people that lived back then, by the way.
We're
Our
not even
IQs
smart.
have not
No,
changed.
we're not. We're not. We have more stuff that we know, but we're not smarter.
Yeah,
it
we're not
still
smarter.
works on
They
us.
had the same abilities we did. We do now. They have the same abilities. Everything you just said, I was kind of pointing it out, is you reminded me of the retrospective board that we have. And it's like the information-based mind control, right? We're born into the first veil, the establishment narrative, right? And some of us start figuring out that this ain't right. So we move on, but what's waiting for us? The second veil of the next awakening we have to go through and realize there's a bunch of disinformation out there. You got to realize if these people are smart enough to be doing this entire time, right? Running this cycle of control from the ownership class, and they own all of us. It ain't just one of us, it's all of us, right? And I'm saying that in a power sense, from a power sense, right? I'm not talking about any kind of crazy thing with like, the social security numbers or anything like that, right? I'm not going there. I'm just saying like from that upper class or global class, they're not above me. I don't think of these people as above me. I don't think of them as elite. I think of them as elitism, right? One of the root cause issues here. And that they're able to pull this off generationally. They know that some of us are going to fall out of this establishment narrative, and we're going to see all this bullshit, and we're going to look for something else. But guess what? They've laid out for us, right? When we drop out of that, we got this whole COINTELPRO world of living in fear to stay on defense, right? The second alternative narrative, sprinkled in with truth, just like the first one, right? But hiding the other veils, hiding the cycle of abuse that really empowers this mechanism to work. You have to corrupt the young, abuse the young to break the future, right? Because you take away their childhood, you do things like that. You turn them into these narcissistic people that go out there and feed us on the micro level. They feed on us on the micro level in our day-to-day lives. They drag us down. They're the crabs in the bucket, right? Then you have larger groups of them, are cults. That when you're feeling lonely and you have nobody, they're cults, they're gangs, right? And they bring you in and say, we're your family now. We love you. We love you. We love you. They just bomb you. And they bring you into this cult of this mind control, this other mind control. And then you have like the drug culture that lays on that surreality, that absence from being present on top of that, right? And you create all these useful idiots that are out there doing this, right? And you have this culture where you try to destroy them. It's all right, and it's all right laid out for us, right? What it's hiding is what we're talking about right now, is a cycle of abuse that then gives them the corruption needed in the system, right, in order to continue their cycle of control. So when you abuse it young, you break the future, and then you have generational corruption, you can control reality. And what we're talking about right here is solution culture, right, which is what we do here. And solution culture is the counter to this, right? It's the free will versus enslavement model at this level. And we're the free will model, and they're the enslavement model. And we're coming from this side saying these are the solutions we need to have to counteract this cycle that's been going on our entire lives. And it's, maybe there's a lot more to be added here. Maybe some needs to be taken away. I don't know. But I just put it out there like this is the way I see it right now. And why we're doing this is we identified division as one of the root cause issues. And then the Thomas Sowell, sorry, I'm going back and forth here, but the Thomas Sowell history helps us repair that history so that we can have a better understanding of the past and what the cycle of abuse has done to us through Jim
Right.
Crow, through the wokeness, through modern to old school, to slavery, to whatever it is, right? Even though that was more like about property, but how they've turned that into something, right? And how they've made it this thing. Like you break a young black man and from the hard times coming up and the cards that are stacked against him, you break a white man by doing the same thing, but you do it in a reverse. This is your fault. This person's having a hard time. This is your fault. Your friend's suffering over there, right? And so, and then you're taking away both the identities at one time, right? And then that's easy to put them into the system now. Now it's easy to make you want to be a gangster or be a cultist or drop out and be a hippie or, get high all the time, whatever it is to get away from this bullshit that this world's about, right? Because look around.
Right.
These people hate these people. These people, the men and the women, they got problems, right? Men are bad to women. Women are bad to men. It's like all back and forth. And now there's people that don't even know what they are anymore, or they're malfunctioning, or they're having a hard time being accepted in the world for who they are. Or, then there's these people that want to go out there and feel like they're worth something in the world. So they want to stick up for these causes, right? And they get green lighted, they get gaslighted too into things, man. And it's just, it goes on and on and on and on. And we miss the forest for the trees sometimes, right? So then we say, okay, well, I'm going to get rid of all this. I'm going to go over here and start believing, on these bigger things, right? And maybe there's some truth to these things in a way, but they're embellished to a point of creating fear and creating this large looming thing that triggers your survival instinct to act now as a man, as a woman, to save yourself, to save your children, right? But then there's no solutions there. Their solutions are all we know, but we don't know what to do about it, right? So we just wait for it. Wait for the bullets to fly, and then you go run and hide, and then we'll survive and build a new society. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Sorry, I don't see it happening. So this world, we're talking about the trauma-based mind control, right? Where, like I said, it's setting kids up for this troubled teen industry or prison industrial complex and a lifestyle, right? So if you fall in the troubled teen industry,
is that a misery? The freaking prison system. Oh my God, is that a misery?
Yeah, and a lot of kids they don't even get this chance. They don't even get a chance to go to these institutions. This is kind of like rich kid to almost poor kid status, right? And then a little bit of the prison system mixed in for kids. So the troubled teen industry is your kid's out of control. You don't know what to do with them. So these schools are there to help. And a lot of these schools, as we learn in my channel from the Elon survivors, right? The Elon school survivors who are friends of ours, friends of the channel. I like to introduce you to Mark Babbitts one day. He's an awesome guy. He's the guy who heads the troubled teen activism and basically has done a lot of it. Got the school shut down. Leads the Elon school survivor group and help get that school shut down and bring a lot of notoriety to it. He helped produce a very important film called The Last Stop, which we reviewed on here, and I've had him on the channel. So if you guys are interested in the topic, go back and look for Elon School or Mark Babbitts or any of those streams, and you'll see that we had some great conversations and learned a lot. This school poses as an answer for troubled teens, but really what this is systematic abuse. Like they literally bring them in there and they start abusing them from day one. And then the parents that are paying like $50,000 a year for this school, Paris Hilton went to one of these, a couple of these, right? They're trying to escape for their lives. They're getting a false report from them because if they don't tell them the school's great, someone's waiting to beat their ass on the other side of that phone, right? And then they're going to go in the hole and then they have to wear signs. And dude, the abuse level, you wouldn't believe, Gary. I mean, it's over the top. Right? Yeah. And meanwhile, they're getting straight A's. The parents think, oh, this is working so great. Thank God we were at our last point. Sometimes prison system was sending kids here instead of to prison. Like they're like around that the cusp. Like there's a 15-year-old kid who was being abused that is in the documentary. And so one day he had enough of it. He locked the house and burned everybody in it because those were all the ones that are beating the crap out of him day in and day out. Right.
Wow.
So he gets sent to Elon from the age of 15, has to be in lockup basically there, and is going through this cycle thing year after year after year after year. And everybody in the survivor group loves this guy. Like this guy is awesome. Unfortunately, he passed away and I didn't get to meet him, but a lot of these people that ended up here, like Mark and Jeff, it was their last stop. Either that, they're going to prison as used, basically, right? So they got a chance to go here, but this was another system of abuse. It was a system of abuse that came out of the Synanon, which was Alcoholics Anonymous plus drugs, right? And they had this cult-like mentality. They shaved their heads. They had it's called attack therapy. And anyways, but that's what I'm talking about. Attack therapy, where they scream and yell at you. I'm gonna throw you the link at T3. If you're around, can you throw out the link for The Last Stop for everybody? Yeah, just watch this documentary. You'll get it. Like it's yeah. So we had these guys on, and they'll be back. But that's what we're talking about. But now the prison industrial complex, right? This is something like I'd like to talk to with people who have been part of this, discuss it. Like maybe Strategic Guy said he did some of this, right? So this is a good conversation for us to have. But this is, again, they tell kids, hey, gangster life is cool. Gangster life is like, you're rolling in the dough. You got the honeys, you got the ride, you got the style, you got the what do they call it now? You got the drip, right? Look, I sounded so old when I said that, Gary.
No, you sounded pretty cool doing it. Actually, you sound better than I would. You did, because I don't even know how to say the drip. I don't even know what that means. What is that?
Right?
Medallions or something?
Yeah, it's just how they're dressed. It's just how it looks. It's a suit.
It's called
the whole
drip.
style put together. Okay. Yeah, it's called drip. Yeah,
drip.
I don't know.
I would think it's something else anyway. But let's try to keep it PC.
There you go. But anyways, yeah, to wrap that up, man, it's like, yeah, so they I saw it growing up in Virginia Beach, man. I don't know if you're from New Jersey. Where did you might not know this, but like, where's spring break for black colleges? Like when you're up north?
That would be Seaside Shore, I think it is. Seaside Heights.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it was in Virginia Beach, and then down in Atlanta we got some too, right? So Atlanta is a destination too. So they used to have this thing called Greek Fest, and Greek Fest went on for a long time, no problems at all. And in fact, everybody in Virginia Beach loved it because the college kids came there. They're really cool, and it was a boost to the economy. It's a tourist town, right? So we were like, oh yeah, man. Well, you got the Strip, you got the Atlantic, Pacific, man. You go through there, you can ride around, with your cars, and everybody hanging on it's good times, right? Well, right after you remember when NWA came out and like all that gangster rap hit, right?
Yeah,
I remember because I was it was like it was like a high school time in my life, and it was like it was like suddenly that style started hitting because the music was hitting, right? And it was cool. I remember listening to those albums over and over and over again, like over and over and over again. I loved it. But now there's a place called Norfolk that's like right about 20 minutes from Virginia Beach, and Norfolk is like the hood, right? Like a lot of it's like the hood. And there's there's a lot of poverty and struggle that's going on there, and it's right down. It's a really kind of a cheesy city. It's not even hardly a city, right? But that's where it is, right? And then you go in there and you get a little bit country out to Suffolk, and you're on out into the sticks, right? And so all that area right there, I guess because of the military and the manufacturing that's going on in those areas and whatnot, were like that. And so the culture that's where gangs were starting to form and start to get notoriety in the area, right? And I don't know what it was, but I've always said it was probably the onset of the music. I could be wrong, but I really feel like that was the correlation, and that's the attitude I saw that was coming with it. And what happened is that during that spring break, all these people from Norfolk came into Virginia Beach, and then other people that were in other areas of Virginia Beach came in as well and started mingling with the college kids, right? And they started inciting a bunch of shit. And so they started throwing bricks through car windows, and you know how they're doing the 7-Eleven right now?
Yeah.
That's what they were doing that back then. That's when it was starting. I never forget the day my dad came in and goes, "I'll go down to the beach tonight." I'm like, "Why?" He goes, "Dude, something's going on. Everybody's going crazy. People are throwing bricks through windows, and they're running into 7-Elevens, and nobody knows what's going on." But see, the thing about Virginia Beach is it has all 5 branches of the military right there. So our shit gets locked down quick.
Yeah.
So they gave it another shot. They said, on this, we'll let you come back. They shut it down. And then they would beta test the security processes like over the winter time for the locals. That's why people in Virginia Beach especially, are very paranoid of cops. And they would so they said, we'll let you come back, but this time we're going to call it Labor Fest. We're going to change the name of it, remarket it. Hopefully the past is the past, right? Same thing happened again. After that, they're like, okay, y'all out of here. And then, so I think what they did is they went down to Atlanta and became Freaknik. So you heard of Freaknik?
No.
Down Atlanta, it's college spring break. It's Black College spring break, and it's huge.
Oh,
like,
okay.
So I moved there, came down here, and I was living in that area where it's held. So like I literally would have to drive back through it. And dude, I always had a good time. I was just like, I'd drive right through it, and I'd get out and dance. Like, it was, you can't go anywhere. You get traffic. You just have to go. You have to inch along for hours to get back to your road, right? But it's a really good boost for the economy and stuff. And everybody's having a good time. A lot of crazy shit happens there too. So it's not, it's got all the elements of spring break. But anyways, the story is that the culture in Virginia Beach changed after that, and it was the onset of culture that made people. Now a lot of those kids ended up going to prison, or they got in trouble, and ended up getting a record now. They got a record now because they got incited by this music, this culture, to come in and do something they shouldn't be doing, something they know that would make their parents ashamed of them. But they're going to do it anyways because they're being told you're this way and this is what it is, and these are the people that are against you, and this is what you should do, and this is how we do it, and look at how we're rolling, right? So that's what, at least how I feel about like that was the impression they were getting, and why they come. Now, one of the times they got jumped, right, was after this. So after this, there was a tension in Virginia Beach. There was a racial tension. It felt like, honestly, I was away at college for most of it. I come back on the breaks and kind of be reminded of it. But one time was that walking back from the beach after last call with a buddy, heading back over to this party, stopped, get a 6-pack, start heading back over there. And you can walk everywhere in Virginia Beach. It's like you just walk them block to block. It's block to block kind of checkerboard stuff. And so we're walking back over there, right? And we passed by this gang of three black dudes hanging out on the corner, just like behind like one alley. You come off Atlantic, you come down one of the side streets, like call it like 17th Street, right? And you're walking another block to Pacific, then you're walking another block into Arctic to Baltic, and so on, right? And so you're like once you get to like Arctic, right, after Pacific, it's all like houses. So you only got 2 roads of like pizza shops and surf shops and hotels and all that stuff. You got Atlantic and Pacific. And so we're walking back there. We get like between Atlantic and Pacific, walk behind this one big building, and then there's some people hanging out. And we're like, oh, yo, man, let me get a beer. And like, oh, man, we only got 6, sorry. And we keep walking, right? So my friend's not paying attention. I'm like a lot more streetwise than he is. I'm like waiting around. And I know they didn't take that well. It's not getting a beer off of us, right? I know they didn't take that well. But I just kept we kept walking. And I kept kind of keeping my side eye out, right? So I kept walking. I said, sure enough, here comes 2 filing, right? Like, okay, they're coming for us. They're coming for us. We get down to about between Arctic and Baltic, right? So we've already crossed over. We're in where the houses are at, and they're a little bit slanted up from the sidewalk and the street. Just a little bit of a hill, right? And then you're right there at the front door. That's this beach house, and so they get it right up on us, right? I jump up on the hill. And my friend never sees this happen. I jump up on the hill, right? The first guy comes in, tries to do the whole like I'm not looking at you overhand right thing. I duck under that, come back across with the elbow, right across his chin, drop him, jump down from the embankment, I guess like upbankment, right, from the grassy hill in front of the house I was in front of, to the sidewalk, square off with the dude in front of me, right? I was boxing at the time, so I was all about it. I was just like, I throw my guard up. He bounces 2 left rights off my hand. I duck under, come in, left hook, right hook, drop him back, and then his other friend comes running up, man. So this dude gets back up and he goes, "Okay, man, we're good." And I turn around, my friend's still walking with the 6-pack. He didn't even see it. Now the second time this happened to me, that was the time I came out okay, right? It was like they laid off me. I just caught up with my friend and we were done. Like there was like okay, respect. That's it. The next time it happened to me, we were coming out of a bar, straight out of a bar. And this is when it had gotten a lot worse at this point. And like there's a black side and a white side now, like right out in front of these bars. And the black side wasn't going in the bars, which is the weird part, right? So we come out of this. I'm not even realize this. I'm at home on spring break or something, right? And I'm like, I come to the bar. My friend's like this little dude. He's got like long stringy hair. He's got John Lennon glasses. He's wearing a tie. He's a total hippie, right?
Yeah.
And he didn't even. He's walking in front of me, and we're just coming out of the bar. I'm looking around, see what's going on. I didn't even see this happen. This dude, this little kid, a kid, like underage, comes up, flat elbows him in the nose, right? That kid takes off. Two of his friends are right there, right? I square off with them. There's a big dude, right? That's with the group that none of us see. I'm squaring off with these two guys. This guy comes around behind me, tacks me on the right in the jaw, like right there. And I just remember like I heard a sound. Then I was like, oh shit, I'm on the ground. And I'm like, cover. So I knew the kicks were coming. Right. And then I tripoded up and I got back up. I'm squaring off with the two dudes. By then the cops, this is how fast, like I'm saying, things have ramped up in the city. The cops were already there on horseback, right? Already on horseback. Had already caught the kid running down the street, had the big dude in cuffs. I get up. You know what I did? The first thing I did? I turned in that crowd of scared white people and I said, you gonna sit there and let all these people beat up me like that? I was like,
yeah,
you guys
of course
are
they
pussies.
are.
I called the whole crowd a bunch of pussies, man. And the cop was like, you better chill. I was like, all right. But here's the point. All right. I'm sorry, it's a long-winded story. Here's the point. When I went to the cop station, because my friend was pressing charges, and we had to go get his nose fixed, right? At the hospital, right? The young kid that was in there didn't get arrested. The other two that were squaring off with me, they didn't get arrested. The big guy got arrested. The small guy got arrested. And then we were sitting there, and the kid was trying to antagonize me, and I was older than him. I could tell he was younger. In fact, they were all underage. Every single one of them were underage, and we were in college. And I was like, man, it's like, what do you got to do that for? You know, he goes, man, you don't give a shit, man. He goes, go ahead, call me it. You know, you want to call me it. He wanted me to call him the N-word, right? And then when he was leaving, they're like, y'all two need to chill out on there, because we started getting into it a little bit. You know, I was ready to go at that point. I was like, y'all come on. It's like I was mad about my friend's nose getting broken for no reason, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, but that kid left first, right? And as he left first, he did this sign. Like he did this thing where he had the Uzi close to him and he went like that. Like it was like comforting to him almost. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget that.
Wow.
Him spending like, I'm spraying Uzi on all y'all, right? Like that was like, I'll never forget that. And I was like, you know, what would have made him do something like that? He's imitating like gangster rap. He's imitating what he's seen in videos and in what he's heard from the music. Thinking that's the way to be
new man now, right?
Be.
Being it gangster rap is the new man. That's what this is why I do what I do on my channel, to get to bring in general men and women together, because this is not far away from what other cultures are going to experience if they allow this to get into their children. You're going to feel the same effects. Kevin Samuel, you made it perfectly clear. He said if white women get a sniffles, black women have a raging flu. So this can possibly trickle down to other, because we are human beings. We are all subject to the same stuff. I even did a video how to tear down a powerful culture. It was a skit. It was supposed to be, entertaining, but it's true. It's like, this is how you break down a powerful culture. You put the mother against the father, and you use the kid as a pawn, and boom, you got that. So now the mother's working too dang hard to raise her child. She can maintain the child, because they'll give you all the provision to maintain the child, but they won't give you enough provision so you can raise the child. So the child comes up not knowing what to do. The boy don't know how to do anything, and you wonder why they're turning to crime. And now you have them incarcerated, and once they get a felony, they're excommunicated from everything. So it's like we're trying to prevent that from happening. But dude, my boy Hood, we was supposed to do a live yesterday, but he got called to stay and work for later. About this new song coming out, or came out, and I forget the name of the song, but it's this ratchet behind song. It's so ratchet, and we're going to discuss that. But this is what our kids are listening to because we're not doing what we're supposed to do. So it's like it all is connected. The whole thing is connected. So we're bridging the gap when it comes down to history. I'm trying to bridge the gap between men and women so we can get off this horse crap. Whether it's white or black, who cares? Let's just. I'm so glad we're doing what we're doing. So
Yeah,
glad.
me too. 100%. Do you want to finish watching this right here? We got a little bit more of this. I know we got way off track, but that's a good thing. And there's so much more to talk about when it comes to that stuff, man. I
we're
think
going
the
to have
natural
to.
flow of our conversations are good. You guys just have to hang with us.
Well, we're going
on
to
that
have
one.
no. We're gonna save more for another day.
Yep.
We can finish this up, but we're going to go ahead and call it soon, right? Like, let's finish this up and call it.
All right.
Rwanda, the Maasai lorded it over the Kikuyu and Kamba, and the latter, in turn, held the Indorobo in a kind of serfdom. It was precisely the fact that Europeans, except for the Portuguese, seldom participated in the raids that captured and enslaved Africans that enabled most people in Europe and the Americas to remain oblivious to the traumatic experience that this was, with some Africans committing suicide to avoid capture and wives being whipped as they tried to cling to their husbands or children. Historian David Breon Davis pointed out that Europeans had little contact with the actual process of enslavement, and that as late as 1721, the Royal African Company asked its agents to investigate the modes of enslavement in the interior. Europeans typically saw only the end results. Enslaved people.
Now I gotta look into this, bro. It's no way. I have to look this up. This can't be. This can't be. This can't be.
The interior. Europeans typically saw only the end results.
This is not
enslaved people being offered for sale on the coast. It was much the same story in the Ottoman Empire, where those who bought slaves had no idea what these slaves had been through before. The unique position of the Western world in the history, and especially the destruction of slavery, need not imply that there was unanimity within the West on this institution. In addition to whites who defended the enslavement of Africans on racial grounds, or who opposed general emancipation on social grounds, there were many whites, and even blacks, who defended slavery as a matter of self-interest as slave owners. Although most black owners of slaves in the United States were only nominal owners of members of their own families, there were thousands of other blacks in the antebellum South who were commercial slave owners, just like their white counterparts. An estimated 1/3 of the free persons of color in New Orleans were slave owners, and thousands of these slave owners volunteered to fight for the Confederacy during the Civil War. Black slave owners were even more common in the Caribbean. In short, there were many defenders of slavery in the West, even in the 19th century. And outside the West, slavery was too widely accepted to require defense. No other nation ended slavery in the same way as the United States did, and few ended it after so short a struggle, as history is measured. How and why did slavery end in most of the world? There were two major processes. Over the centuries, as more and more territories around the world consolidated into nation states with their own armies and
this literally, and I didn't think it would because I've been in school for 15. I've been in school for 15 to 17 years, somewhere between that. I say 15 years, and this narrative was never, and I promise, it was never pushed once. Once, not 1 year, ever. Not in college, not in high school, not in middle school.
And we paying for this.
Nowhere.
Right?
And I've learned a lot. I respect my universities and my schools, but I've never learned this.
How can
It's
you
actually
respect
kind of
something?
hard. I'm
How
gonna
can
have
you
to
respect
verify this
something
information because
that
it's not
leaves
even
so much information
listening
out?
to it is just so uncomfortable that it's hard for me to accept it. But
navies. Raiding those territories to capture and enslave the people who lived within them became more hazardous in itself, and also risked military retaliation against the countries from which the raiders came.
What's going on right here? He's getting mad. He's
Yeah.
realizing he's been ripped off. That's
Yeah.
exactly how everybody's going to feel. Everybody feels when they see this. Like when they for the first time, it's like, man, are you kidding me? You know?
Right. Right. And it's like we went through our entire lives thinking one way, and it's not true.
Yeah, it makes you realize who the real enemy is.
Thus, more and more peoples became off limits to slave raiders over time. Put differently, the areas which remained subject to slave raiding over the centuries were primarily those where the people lived in smaller or weaker societies. Such societies continued to exist where it was difficult, for geographic or other reasons, to consolidate large areas under one government. This was true of the Balkans, the backwaters of Asia, and much of sub-Saharan Africa.
well, that's the end of the video. That was a very hard listen, but I'm glad I listened to it. If you have any suggestions, comment down below, and smash the subscribe button if you stayed this far.
Yeah, that was a powerful piece when I saw it the first time. It rocked me because I had to realize that. I remember when my wife and I we was in New Jersey. I forget where we were going, but we was listening to Tommy. So with Tom, we was listening to him, and he was explaining how slavery was good business and how they did it, and I was like, bro, this was crazy. Like, just to sit there and to hear this, you immediately get out of your victim status, right? And you realize it's just how people can be used against you. Like they can use hatred against you in such a way that is like, holy cow, like you can be perfectly fine. You not enemy at all, but people see you as the enemy because of how they were taught. It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
And that's the whole gimmick. That's the whole trick. That's the way to do it.
The whole trick. That's the whole trick, and it works.
But
we're putting a stop to it. Sorry. Oh well, we got the internet now. Ooh,
yeah.
We're going to use your tools to fight you.
Yep. Yep. They and that's they keep us divided, man, so they can stay in control of us, and they're the ones always bringing it up, always making it an open wound.
Right.
And when we realize together that it was never us against each other, it was them against us. When we have that moment as an entire people, right? When we have that moment, not only is it going to feel awesome, it's also going to give us all the power we've ever needed to resolve this issue, this cycle of control that they have over us.
Yeah.
And that will open the doors to all kinds of better things in this world that everybody's looking for, even the ones that just don't want any government at all. Yeah.
Can you imagine if we finally got rid of these skin color discrepancies and eye color discrepancies and wool hair and stringy hair and all of this stuff? Like, if we got rid of all that stuff, the only thing we will have to worry about is how white people smell like dolls when they wet. Wouldn't that be amazing? Because all I gotta do is get you some deodorant. We good, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just I think we're on the right track. I'm excited about this. I'm pumped. Maybe one day I can actually sit down and have a real discussion with Caucasian women and just sit and talk with them. Which that's not emotional. Well, I guess we can have a little bit emotional, but no offense type of thing. Like, look, this is, because I know a lot there are, hey, what? Hey, I heard y'all smell like dogs when y'all wet. I just want to know if that's true. I just want to know if it's true. But no, it's like I remember hugging a young lady when we was at the Angry Viking crew. Shout out to the Angry Viking crew, even though your leader might be a full piece of shit. But there was one young girl there, well, young lady, I should say, and she was the wife of Wolf. And she wanted to give me a hug because, you know, I was about to leave and probably never see her again. And I gave her the most awkwardest hug on the planet because I'm very uncomfortable around white women. And I'm even more uncomfortable to touch them because when I was a kid, remember when I told you I used to work at David's Bridal?
Mhm.
A woman, you know, she confronted me for, it's a long story. Point is that she traumatized me, and ever since then I have not been able to even so much shake a white woman's hand without feeling something. So have I ever touched a white woman? I'm actually going to have to think about this. No, I've never. I mean, I hugged her, but yeah, I don't. Wow. When I really, as many times I've worked around them and stuff like that, I don't think, I mean, don't get it twisted. You shouldn't get in the high habit of touching people at work. But I'm just saying, it's like with all the interactions I've had with people in general, you know, and I can't even come across a memory where I even sat near a white woman long enough, and it's because of the trauma that I experienced back then. And it was only a couple it only takes a few for you to have that problem where you just like, I don't want to be bothered with any of them. So I don't want that anymore. Like I don't want to live like my life like that anymore. I live in Oklahoma now where there's a lot more of them. And it's like they're my neighbors now. It's not just where I'm used to. Most of my neighbors are either Hispanic or Black. Now my neighbors are white. So I have to break free of that, and I'm trusting I'll be strong enough to do that. But that will be my biggest, what we call it, my biggest hurdle for the next few years is getting over that. Because
Now we're talking like
right,
handshakes. Are we talking like are you shaking hands or no handshakes?
I mean, I think I shook the hand of, okay, so that woman in the bar, that was very annoying because she shook my hand like she was a man. And I looked at her and I was like, why do you shake men's hands so hard? Like, one, we're in a bar.
Yeah, they do.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we're in a
Yeah.
bar. So that
Uh-huh.
that was another confirmation that I don't want to be bothered with white women. And I keep saying white women because that's the one I'm talking about. I'm not trying to be offensive. It's just what it is.
Mhm.
And she had this mentality like, well, I'm a strong woman. And I'm like, not from where I'm looking at, because what you're doing is not strength, it's weakness. Because any man that will try to shake my hand like you did would be considered weak, right? Because you're trying to impose your strength over mine, which you don't have, which is crazy. No, she wasn't a lesbian. She was literally trying to get laid that night. But she
She was
wanted
just
to get laid on
highly
her
like
terms.
uh
Yeah,
she's like,
she
I
wanted to
mean,
get laid on her terms.
that's like a false sense of femininity. I mean, it's like the feminist femininity of,
Yeah,
you know, we
it's
see
very
some, yeah.
shallow. She led with her titles. Oh, I went to this school and I went to this school and I'm a manager or some, cause you know how you put out the big ass titles. They don't really mean
Mhm.
anything. You're a
Right.
secretary, but does title make you look like you the CEO or something? Like you really important? Like those type of titles. And I remember my boy Kenny, because he was with me at the time, and he was asking her questions. What makes you think that I want to be with a strong woman? he asked this question, and it stumped her because, okay, Kenny's a big 6'5" black guy. Saying, what makes you think I want you to be strong? You know, saying, so coming from me, 5'10", maybe, because she was eye level with me, but Kenny's like tall. So when he said it hit her differently, I guess. So we had a good time. Don't get it twisted. I left early because, you know, married, you know, hello, can't stay out too late. Got to get home to the missus. So I went home. And I asked what happened with that. He said nothing. I mean, she's too masculine for me, you know? And it's like, those are the type of issues that I've experienced over the years, not just with whites, with black women as well. And I know that, okay, there's a lot more history between black women and white women and black men that are just very unsettling, if you catch my drift. So yeah, I'm terrified of y'all. And it's not because I want to be, it's because I not only have experience of seeing how powerful you can be with just dropping a tear, but just the allegation. Look at what you do to white men. Look at what women do to white women do to white men. So that's going to be a major barrier for me to cross, because that's the one I'm scared of the most. Because I don't know how to work with that. I don't have any incentive to not do anything with it, because I think that would be a major issue if I need to go and work side by side with white women again, because it's inevitable. With what I'm trying to do in my life, I have to be willing to work with everybody, not just, you know, who I think I like. I have to work with everybody. And being the first one to say, hey guys, I'm scared of this because of this. Would you help me? You know, like put myself out there to say, look, I'm vulnerable. I'm opening myself up to this. I don't have to say this. I don't have to act this way. I don't have to let you know anything. I could just avoid you like you've never existed, and you will never know the difference. But I don't want to do that, because that might heal somebody, right? I know it will help heal me eventually if I realize that, yeah, that was just a crazy woman, and we're not all like that. And you need to get that out of your head. But how can you? Because you've never had a real good experience before. Right. So it's like, okay, you've never had experience before. So I can see why you can still have that problem. So that's where I'm at with it. I've never had a good experience like that. So it's like, what am I supposed to do? I mean, maybe you can help me out with this one. I don't know. I'm stumped on that one.
Let's start with handshakes. You know, and
as long as they're not trying to crush my freaking fingers.
Right. That's not the norm, man. That's not the norm. That's not the norm. That's the one-off weirdness. But you know, you did the right thing laughing it off. It's like it's what everybody else thinks. It's like,
I'm like, really? You
yeah.
I bench pressed 350 pounds. What do you really? Like, are you serious? Like, I mean, she literally had you know how you grip somebody so hard your elbow start extending out? That's how she was doing it. Yeah. I'm like, seriously? I can break your hand if I wanted to, or you gotta stop. Yeah, like, that's all you got? I should have said, is that all you got? Give me more. Let me see how much you more. Use two hands this time. I should have said that.
Yeah, just play into it, man. That's right. That would work awesome.
Right, but I mean, I was again. I'm not I'm an introvert, and I wasn't used to going out. I think that was the first time I was out in years. This and you gotta understand, the only reason why we went out is because I was working at T-Mobile at the time. So, well, it was actually Executive Cellular Phones, but they served T-Mobile products. Gotcha. And Kenny and we decided to go to the bar that night because we had a really good weekend, and we went to the bar, and that's where we met the girls. But I rarely go out simply because of the fact that I'm scared of women, so I don't go out like that. I go home. That's where I go because it's safe at home. I don't have to worry about nobody saying some crazy things happen. So I go home. But I went to the bar. We had a great time. We played some pool. It was fun. I came out of my shell a little bit, and I was like, I didn't die that time. Let's try it again. And, you know, that's when I started to feel a little bit more comfortable about coming out of my shell. So again, there's a lot of history behind me coming out of my shell as well. I'm glad I can get to actually know you a little bit more. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Yeah, I would say that me too. Absolutely. You know, me too. I've known you a lot longer than you know me. Like I've been following you for a long time. So
isn't that weird? Because that's
yeah.
weird for me. Because a lot of people know me and I don't know them.
Yep.
They be coming at me saying, well, I remember when you said this on 1976. I'm like, what the what? Like, I wasn't even born then. Yeah, but I got the recording right here. What kind of crap is this?
Yeah, man. Well, it's honestly, I'm not seeing a lot of bad interactions. I mean, the chicks, man, just on a social level, you're gonna be just fine in pretty much any situation. Just there's always the crazies out there, but I mean, a lot of it takes some work, right? You're looking for better targets, and I think that you probably just would be more like someone that you just want to meet to know, and I don't know. But I mean, yeah, definitely watch yourself in terms of what you feel comfortable with, right? And handshake's fine, and that's all you really ever. I feel like anybody's ever obligated to give. If you want to give the hug, give the hug.
Right.
Maybe that's the way to start too. Like when you feel the hug, give the hug, and as long as it's a friend, right, and somebody that you wouldn't be worried about. So,
right.
Trust too. It comes down to trust. Now, I've seen the thing is I struggle a little bit with this.
Now, don't get it twisted. Now, I don't trust black women either. I don't trust them at all. It's not that.
Yeah. Well, I think they're pretty much the same.
Yeah. No, they're not. They're not the same. Okay, they're not the same.
Okay, so I don't mean that. I don't mean it that way.
No,
I mean
they're not the same.
I mean,
like
there's some female qualities that have to carry.
Right, they have the same. They have the same qualities when it comes down to the feminine attributes. Yes, but they go about things way different. They do not go about it the same thing. Like, what I'm saying, a white woman will go to HR, a black woman would go to your car. Get it?
Yeah,
that's the difference. Give the hug, Gary. Oh, I did. So let me finish that one real quick. So yes, I went and hugged her, Wolf's wife, and it was such an awkward hug. And when I went outside, I said, I can't leave like this. I can't leave like that. That wasn't fair to her. I don't want to leave it like that. So I went back into the house and I said, forgive me for hugging you so awkwardly. And I gave her a real hug. And she was like, now that's a hug. And I felt so warm and toasty. I was like, oh my God, they're cool. They're actually cool people out here, but you also got to understand that the vast majority of white women I've dealt with was in a corporate setting where they had that type of mentality, right? So
there's no hugging in corporate America unless it's like you just close a deal or it's a little quick hug, maybe.
Not only that, it's just that there's a set of rules that they go by in corporate, right? You can't say certain things, you can't do certain things, and they know they can cross the line, but they know you can't, right? So they
nobody can, man. We're all in the gun in those situations. The stupidest things will get you messed up.
You're right. You're right. You're right. That's why I don't want to be in corporate anymore. It's just too much.
No, you got it's a different world, right? You go into the corporate world. Well, I call that worlds, right? So to me, that's your work world or your corporate world. You go in there, you're dressed a certain way, you speak a certain way. It's a different world. It's like entering a different little game level or something, right? It's just a different world. Your family life, you talk differently, act differently, you do different things in that world. That's that environment, that world that you're in. So you got the family world, you got the friend world, you got the work world. You got your hobby world, whatever that may be. It might be music, it might be YouTube. Whatever it is, right? So you got that, and then you have a lingo there, you have a look there, you have a thing there. There's something about that world that you got other people on the outside wouldn't understand, right? Unless they're in it. kind of like this whole streamer world we're in now.
Right.
It's gonna, you can see some there's some pretty wild set of rules going on around here, and there's a lot of different environments that are just weird, and you didn't think were there until you got on the inside and found them.
Yes.
We all learn along the way.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, I've had my interactions with Black women have always been really good, and sometimes they've been really great. So granted, I don't think there's been a lot of conflict, but the relationships haven't been they've been cordial, and not too deep. But but overall, I just appreciate people. I'm kind of the kind of person that I like people's uniqueness. Like I like the quirks, their uniqueness, what makes them special. It might be an expression or a style or anything. It's just something that's makes them unique and stand out to me. And I've just always just looked at that in people, and it's like that's what I really see first. But I mean, I guess it may sound stupid to say or sound limited to say, because obviously I'm going to pick up on the externals really fast. But what I see about them as a person, right, is that part of them, right? That thing that makes them special, and that's what I kind of like. I kind of like see that up front. And I try to see it up front if I can, right? If it's there, and that's what I know about them. That's what kind of endears me to people too, So I can appreciate anybody in their own selves, and when they're being themselves, and they're being real, and they're showing that light inside of them. I guess I could still feel like I gravitate towards that light first, an individual. That's why I really liked your stuff, and I really liked what you and your wife were doing. And I want to make sure it always includes Miss Lamb, because like it's her be a part of your videos too that really made me like them as well. Like you guys were talking about Black History Month in one video, and you were doing those on your your work break, right?
Yeah,
you were like taking breaks from work to do. Yeah, that's how hard you're working at it. I appreciate that too, that you take the time out to do that. And then when you guys are having some time together in the car, you're talking. Man, that stuff's real. I was like, that's real. That's what it's about. Here's two people.
You remember those? Jeez.
Yeah. telling everybody how they're making it work. They're telling everybody it ain't perfect, but how they're making it work, the things that they believe in. And I'm getting real insight into real life right here, and they're giving this all out there. This is what I'm talking about. These are role model people, be an example to a new generation. And I see that in a lot of folks. And I think it's a great thing that's going on. Why that's the second part of the solution, the education and the role model leadership. We get down the line to the third part of the solution, that's a whole other conversation, but it's like, it's more just a frame of mind. Like, how do we apply the new frame of mind and to remove the obstacles that are there, that hesitance, that fear, that those groups, that peer pressure, that cancel culture, all the things that are standing in the way, trying to make sure that we stay divided and unsure of each other, right? That's the next part.
Well, me saying that I'm uncomfortable and seeing how people are responding to that, it does make it easier, right? Because Gypsy is like, did she smell like a wet dog? No, she didn't. She smelled pretty. I think she smelled pretty. I can't tell you what she smelled like. It was friggin' forever and a day ago, but she did not smell like a wet dog. Although I can understand if she smelled like a wet dog. She wasn't wet, so how can she smell like a wet dog? It's funny. Oh man. But I just, it was an amazing time. It was an amazing time for my life to live these moments with my wife and go through these tough times, even though it was in the car, right? Even though it was in the car. We did a whole lot of things in that truck. I wish we didn't have to lose it, but it was what it was. It was what it was. But yeah, man, this was a great live, man. It was an amazing freaking live. I think we need to we're going to do this every Thursday, right? What are we talking about next week? You have any idea, or We want to come up.
Well,
to
I
with
had a
that.
list of topics for tonight, and I think we kind of like we have our way. And we'll start out with something and see where it goes. We were. I think we still need to probably talk a little bit more about how we can define racism better between everybody, so that like people when they talk, they could be more free with how they're talking when they understand the words. That I don't know how we get that widespread or anything, but maybe just for this environment, for this world, kind of just tell the perspectives on it, because that's a word that's used against white people a lot. Right. And it's always like the joke almost became, we'll take that as our can't call us name. Right. So everybody, you guys get the N word, we get the R word. And then if you call us a racist, you're a racist. So it was kind of like one of those things where it was like, it's being devalued. It's not being used the right way. It's misunderstood across communities. And it could be a thing that we could actually spend some good time talking about, maybe even in a larger panel or so. But I had that. I wrote down just control language and communication breakdowns, just walking this stuff in. And I still think that the communication level and that kind of thing that we're talking about tonight is where we should keep going with it. Additional topics were like I wanted to touch on the person of color thing, how that's perceived. What everybody thinks about that. Is it useful? Is it destructive? Is it something that shouldn't be? What's the white perspective on that? And then I wanted to ask about Uncle Tomism or what that kind of pressure is in the Black community that has to do with when someone tries to stand up and do right or bridge a gap. When they throw that label on people and why it is. That's the crabs in a bucket thing, I think. But I like to get that perspective from you and others. And if it's a matter of opinion, folks, or whoever that wants to come on, this is a big collaboration here. So,
holy cow, we got a gifted from. Oh shoot, Anna got it. So I haven't seen Anna in a long time, but congratulations, Anna, for becoming a member through Talking Trash and Truths. Truly appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Taylor. Thank you, Shelly. Appreciate that.
No problem, Susan. I truly appreciate this. I really do. But we got to do this. So we're going to talk about, can we get some other people? Can we get some females up here?
Yeah. I know a few.
Yeah. Let's see if we can get some females on Thursday.
Okay.
I think that'd be cool.
So you talk like Miss Lamb and Erica, and then some new people.
No, some people, they rest. Let them rest until Saturday.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, cool. Yeah. All right, we can do that.
I think that's cool.
Okay, sounds good. So
cool.
We'll do that.
And Gypsy, just for the record, I've never been around a white woman long enough to get her in the bedroom environment so she can get wet. So I don't know how they smell.
Can you be more specific?
No. PC.
All right, guys. Hey, we're gonna get on up out of here. Gary Lamb Network, man. If you haven't already, please go over there and subscribe. Give that a thumbs up. And I'm Winning Reality. And if you haven't stopped by my channel yet, and you're over there on the Gary Lamb channel, please stop by and give me a sub, give me a thumbs up, man. And we're all family here. All right. And so we're going to be back next week at 9 p.m. with more of Repairing History Together with Gary Lamb. And we are going to, I will be back Saturday night with Winning Saturday Night, 9 p.m. Show up to find out what we're doing. And then, Gary, you have a show with Matters of Opinion on Saturday night too, right?
Yeah, that will be at 9 p.m. Eastern Central Standard Time and 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So an hour after you go on, we will be going on.
All right. I'll keep an eye out. And if I go off YouTube before you guys, man, I'll send people over.
Awesome. Truly appreciate that.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Hey, thank you all so much for being here, Talking Trash and Truth. Thank you so much for the donations and everybody else who participated and the memberships. Who gave up the memberships over on your side? I didn't see it over here.
That will be Talking.
Okay, cool. Okay, make sure everybody get their thank yous for the support. Thank you for being here. Thank you to our moderators. Thank you for Suzanne and everybody else that was here tonight. and participated, man. We had a great time. We're going to be doing this next week. Hope to see you then. Hey, and until next time, y'all keep on winning.
Hey.
It's time to take a stand and repair our history. Thomas Sowell has shown us the way. It's time to start winning reality. We've been divided for far too long. It's time to come together and be strong. We can learn from our mistakes and make a brighter future for everyone. We have the power to make a change. All it takes is courage and faith. So let's stand up for what's right and make history together.